All right. Peace, power, and profit. Grand afternoon on this gray and subdued Sunday, especially my neck of the woods, right? What's going on, family? Shout out to everybody tuning in who's able to. We are still in the thick of sports season, so I know a lot of people's detox time is spent watching the NBA and the NFL and college football don't play on Sundays, but whatever, reviewing stats and highlights from the day, previous day before, right? So in the midst of all that, I'm trying to, wedge in a little bit of, financial information or just ideal of keeping you guys sharp and on point at this, as they say, still sharp and still, with a little bit of information here as I can, right? Of course, I'm not trying to uh, remove you from your detox moments and those things. But I am trying to supplement it with a little extra, little tad, tad bit of information on the back end, right? So again, shout out to everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you're able to, wherever you are in your neck of the woods, shout out to you, in your glorious, stature, right? So a lot's going on, right? So as a few people trickling in, we're going to kind of make this I don't know, maybe quick. We always say that, but it end up being a little long-winded, right? But we're gonna try to make it brief as possible, because I'm pretty sure you guys came through last week watching the markets and you were like, what is this, right? So nothing that we were necessarily caught off guard with. For the most part, when I say we, mean a lot of us who of course, who's been following the markets, who's been diagramming and studying and planning for the inevitable. We were on top of this, right? So again, a lot of us went off to, for the holiday, whatever you want to call it, whatever, right? For the Thanksgiving, right? Indian Harvest Day, whatever. And you was excited, right? Because like, man, markets just been on a tear. Mom, dad, auntie, uncle, cousin, whomever, friend of the family, whomever. And you was excited to show them your little crypto gains and your little forex gains and your little stock market gains. And it was just like, yeah, I'm tearing it up. Lately the market been pulling back, but other than that, I'm still looking good, right? And so a lot of the conversations around this particular you know setting, or I should say this holiday event setting, was a little different, right? It was abnormal for the fact that, of course, we're still in the throes of the pandemic. This one was kind of given a somewhat of a green light for people to get out there and travel, because the idea that the jab has been administered to a lot of people, so there was a level of safetyness, mental safetyness, whether it was physical or not, because we do understand the parameters surrounding the jab. Anybody can get it, everybody can get it. Y'all know what I mean when I say that. I mean it. The virus has no respect to person with or without the jab. If it wants in, it's coming in. So nobody is immune, right? So let's get that out the gate first and foremost. So we get in our little, you know, East Coast, West Coast when it comes to that. Of course, I'm neutral on all of it because I'm more data dependent, based upon, I know that variables change, right? Life is about variables. There's no complete diametric opposite perspective where there's levels and layers, especially when it comes to science, right? It's a lot of things that move in parts. Things change, right? Change, evolution, whether if you want to use that or not, right? But, of course, I don't subscribe to a lot of the more hyperbolic aspects of that, but I do believe in some of the more fundamental aspects of what that means, right? So with that being said, of course, the markets has been on a free fall. It seems like free fall, right? And free for all to partake in the free fall if you are competent to be able to do so and hedge properly. And the same could be said for the crypto space, because their wake up call came a little later than equity markets, and notably so. We kind of were already thinking at some point, maybe they're going to come for the crypto space at some point, and they did, right? Now, obviously, when we say they, meaning those who have substantiated levels of money that it can move around. Of course, when we always used to saying follow the money, well, exactly what we're saying, follow the big money. The big money obviously move markets, right? Not the little $3 here, your little $10 here, your little $5,000 here, right? Yeah, it has merit, but again, notably so, bigger money is what's moving these markets, right? So big money's been moving, right? So when big money is moving, guess what? We get to moving with it, right? So, we're going to discuss that a little bit today as well. Again, we're going to try to hit some topics, hit them fast, get to the point, and get on by our day so I can get out you guys' hair, right? So what's up? We got some family coming in already. What's going on, family? Contrarian thinking in the building. Peace, power, profit to you over. Happy to have you in the house today. Our family Tricky Will in the building. Peace, power, profit to you as well, man. Happy to have you here. The family Peace Smooth in the building. Shout out to you as well, coming through today on this Sunday. Oba Chavez McCray in the building, right? We call my localized science, right? We always got a name for somebody coming to the building has a specificity and information and works that they're putting out. So he's the resident, scientist in the building. So guys, growing and learning in the aspect of being more proficient in this. So shout out to him. First and foremost, the first person in the building is always holding down the door, right? Over Chris Woods in the building. Affection number is Chris Logic. Y'all guys know him. Got a YouTube channel out. You may want to go subscribe to it, right? Because we're gonna play an excerpt from some of his work that he put out, just today. Some informative work, some very insightful work, right? Concerning a lot of things that we're gonna discuss a little bit in terms of inflation and the latest grilling on Capitol Hill that came on the back end of Janet Yellen, right? And Jerome Powell, right? They just got, they got their toes slammed to the door, they back scraped with a cheese grater, they got ice poured down, in the private parts and frigid weather, man, they got taken through the ringer, right? This past week at Congress, and rightfully so. Of course, we've been on this, I don't know, this euphoric mania of money printing and making excuses for why there's a need for excess as opposed to being a little bit more mature in the perspective of how these things are going to cripple actually your lower base society or community in the long run than it is helping them as they might think in terms of front running their problems, right? That's very problematic. So inflation is now whooping everybody. And again, it really doesn't hurt the people who are a little bit more wealthy because they can pay a little extra, for cheese, eggs, milks, and cars and houses and all that. They got it. And they made the majority of it, off the pandemic because the feds were printing a lot of money. So yeah, they got it. Everybody else can't say the same, especially Main Street. So that's very important to realize that politics is not so much of the back and forth rhetoric that they do in terms of trying to grandstand on what side is better. It's more dictated in terms of the policies that are being rendered, whether they're going to affect your life or not. That's what we're going to discuss, right? That's what smart people pay attention to. We don't get in caught, we're not East Coast, West Coast with that. Well, at least I am. I speak for myself because I'm definitely unaffiliated with any of this foolishness, right? America can miss me with all that, right? Party stuff. I'm more, excited about the policy that may lead to a paper, a paper bag, right? Securing the bag, so to speak, right? So we're out, basically we're out for benefits, right? If the benefits on the table, let's talk. If they're not, then yeah, go ahead on with all the other stuff. Kick that into somebody that's emotionally compromised. All right, so shout out to brother David Jones in the building, pop through. Over Divine Full in the building. Shout out to you as well. Peace, power, profit to you as well. Again, happy to have you in the building. And the illustrious Miss but Monica Lamb then showed up in the house today. I probably figured that she was out conquering the world right now. She's get her entrepreneur game on the weekend. So, shout out to her for coming through. She's probably busy as it is, but we happy to have her here. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel if you can. Of course, that's a wealth of information you will not regret. Trust me on this, you will not regret it, right? So shout out to her for all she does for anybody who come into her presence, right? You're gonna win substantially just having her in your corner. Shout out to her, right? Over our family, Ori in the building. Peace, power, profit to you as well. Or Ori 666 in the house. Shout out to him again, one of our resident traders that get it in across the board. Him, and the family dollar wheel, tag teaming it over there, in their aspect of forex trader and futures and other things as well. So he's definitely diverse in asset class. Happy to have him here, as always. Again, we welcome everybody, right? We're very, centric platform that caters to everybody, right? We don't have a respective person. We don't do echo chambers. We just deal with information, right? We're trying to all become more astute at learning how to think better, right? Move better, right? Receive better, right? Act better, right? When those things on the table, guess what? We all win, right? It's a body politic, right? That's what we're all about, right? Enrichment, right? Betterment of life, right? So shout out to everybody. But Sunline 55 in the house. Resident bouncer at the door, no half stepping. When you see him in the building, right? He got them one with them lefts and rights, hooks, right? Shout out to him having him in the building as well. Again, all you guys tuning in. Like I said, I know it's Sunday and it's football going on and all that stuff popping off. And I'm excited to be a part of, a little part of your day if I can. Just if I could add some information, to help prepare you for tomorrow, or in this case, well, even this evening, when the futures market open up, then I think that's worthy of time well spent, right? We say time and money is the best mathematical equation on the planet, right? It's a t-shirt mode we coin. And people know that, we've heard time over money, but it's very important to realize that, right? Your time equals money. Time is a commodity, right? Time need to be well, I should say, dressed in a way where you understand the importance of it, right? You don't want people to waste your time because that's a form of them wasting your money. Again, it's a commodity, right? So you need to garner it and protect it as such, right? So we can make good use of our time and not be out there just kind of, caught on the hamster wheel, just going around in circles, thinking we're doing something. All right. So shout out to everybody again, everybody coming in the building, those who are able to type, shout out, and those who are not able to type, shout out to you as well. That's behind the scenes that may just be listening in, right? Again, you're very well appreciated here. All right. So just kind of coming on, I like to do my little funny memes when I can and thumbnails, because these things definitely capture attention too. So as you can see on the screen here, again, coming up the holidays, you were like I was discussing earlier that people were excited to go home, just tell their family members what they've been doing. You just got into the investment space. If you're old school, new school in it, whatever the case, but for the most part, you've been successful if you've been able to, feed into the ideal of what the Federal Reserve has been doing for us, the market as well. Because again, their their policies, number one, have enriched the stock market substantially again since the COVID scenario kind of popped off, right? And now it's starting to overheat it, right? So it's a gift and a curse, right? Of course, people who make money don't complain about why they made such a level of money at a point where they feel like they got to deal with, the ideal of making more money won't be as easy as it was before, right? They're not going to complain and say, well, I should give some of this back, right? I made too much money because the feds were just so liberal in their policy and printing money. I just can't deal with myself that I made all this money, right? Rarely do that happen. Now, there's some people who take the philanthropist route and they go out there and pay it forward, policy, money, whatever, work, whatever, speaking engagements, etc. And then there's most of us who take that money and move it around different asset classes, right? We spaz it out accordingly to be able to be in a position to deal with other aspects of innovation and opportunistic opportunities when it comes to investing. Right? That's a mouthful, right? But saying all that again, so it's easy to kind of move into the space that, I got some data for you, or I got some information for you, I got some good game for your family. So you telling everybody, about Bitcoin and, yeah, you need to be in Bitcoin at this point is at blah, 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 thousand. And, we definitely going to go higher here, right? At some point. And so, yeah, you need to be putting a lot of your money into, okay, there's always context to information, right? We understand that, right? There's context, right? There's not only context, but there's an ideal of knowing that, there's timing and understanding how these things works too, right? In terms of the whole parameter of being an investor is to understand how to buy low, sell high, right? How to bargain base shop in a way where you can better manage growth and opportunity, given the fact that you can move into a space that allots that. You want to always take the approach that, of course, I want to get in at the most lowest, possible price ever. Understanding the parameters of rules engagement. So we talk a lot about rules of engagement. We use that terminology a lot for a reason, because we want people to understand this is not a one size fit all reality, right? Your money, right? Your time, your attention may be, that you allot to this may not be as, applicable than that of someone who day trades for a living, right? Especially if you're a swing trader or a person who just learned, you might want to get some more knowledge underneath your belt first before you jump out that window, right? That's what we preach over here more than anything. All right. We don't do all that, selling you, opportunities and all that in the third, right? Because number one, we don't own the stock market. We can't sell it to you. We don't own the Forex market, crypto market, any of these markets. We're participating just like a Warren Buffett do when he wake up in the morning, a Charlie Munger, a Peter Thiel, right? Whomever your favorite investor is, right? Paul Tudor Jones, whoever, insert their name, they still have to wake up with the mindset that this is quote unquote a free market like everybody else, even though we know it's being controlled heavily by the feds because they got all this monetary policy. But that still doesn't negate that you need to be knowledge first, right? You need to lead knowledge first. You need to be led by knowledge first. Get the knowledge first. Knowledge brings power. Power equals profit. End of discussion. Moment of silence for anybody who failed to realize that you're not going to make money just by jumping out the window thinking you can be lucky all the time, right? This is a curation process of getting the knowledge, right? And so don't run from it. Run to it, because that's what's going to sustain you years to come. You're going to have families if you don't have them, right? You're going to pass down some kind of form of wealth through stock investment, CDs, insurance, 401ks, Roth TSP, whatever, land, you name it. You have to be more equipped to understand the rules of engagement to do that, so you don't squander that opportunity, right? Their future wealth. So knowledge is the precursor to all of that. And we don't want to lose focus of that, right? Even when people trying to tell you, hey, go all in on Shibu, right? Go all in on Shibu Inu right now, you be good, right? Okay. Is a reason why right now? Is it possible I can get it a little cheaper possibly in the future? Why right now, right? So anybody telling you go all in on something in the market, definitely disregard that and do your research first, right? Don't completely displace everything they say, but do your research. Basically be led by primary sources first, is my point, right? So you guys get it, right? Because again, we are trying to be again, the vanguard of the future in terms of financial information deliverers that your peers, your kids, your cousins, and whomever can benefit from. You could be that cousin, that uncle, that brother, that auntie, right? That mom, that whomever. You could be the person to help bridge people's, dead money, right? People who got savings accounts and bank accounts, and they glorify because they so happy they got a little bank account, and they so happy they got a little savings account, and that money ain't attracting no kind of form of interest. It's dead money, right? They're excited, but they don't know any better at this point, or they're just timid and scared to understand the power of investing. So, yeah, you may be the bridge or the liaison to help them get in the game of financial literacy, right? And just understand, right? Approach people with the same level of caution and concern that someone probably did to you to bring you into this, because a lot of people just don't know, right? The same as it deals with the viruses and all that. They just don't know all the different aspects, because there's so much politicization behind these things that it makes people fearful. But yet we know above all things, when it comes to financial exalting their life, they're definitely losing if they got a savings account and it's not accruing interest, period. End of discussion. That's not how generational wealth is built, by waiting for a rainy day to liquidate your funds, right? We move beyond that at this point, and we're so much smarter than that now. In the age of information, we should be moving better with the understanding that money is better served as a resource. It's a tool. It's no more than that. Stop glorifying your little dollar bills that you got hid underneath your mattress. Put that money to work. I repeat, put it to work, right? Or it's going to work you in the end. Let that marinate, right? So that's what we're here to talk about again. So $5, $2, $3, $1. Guess what? If it has the ability to attract any interest on it, that means that's a win-win situation, right? So get excited for getting 2% on $1. But guess what? You wouldn't even got that in a money market account, possibly. See how that work? All right. So let's put that out there. So again, we want to be the boss and the author and the organizer and the generator of our reality, right? And we want to take that stuff serious, right? So again, you want to be cautious in terms of that level of information when you put it out, because we know that markets are subjected to a lot of what? Players, right? So of course, moving straight to the crypto conversation, that's today's topic. We're going to discuss crypto crash, if you want to call it that, the inflation scenario, right? And the Omicron, right? The virus, right? Of course, we doing everything under the aspect of freedom of Speech Act of 1972, right? So make sure y'all, or 76, I should say, excuse me, right? 107 Copyright Act of 1976. So we might use information that may be a fair use authorization. And we hope you guys understand that. So criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research, it's all fair use, and is permitted by copyright statute. So we might touch into some of those things that may be a little bit, touch it to some people, but to us it's not, because we don't get caught up in feelings. We get caught up in trying to make sure we get proper information. Shout out to everybody again. Brother Ramirez and popped up in the building. Shout out to you as well. Happy to have you here. Again, everybody that might be listening in silence, thank you for your time today. So, look, you guys understand it, right? That was a good year, 1976. See, look at us. I'm setting the babies in the house. I see you. I see you in the house. I'm setting the babies. Right? Where you at? Right? So let's jump right into it real quick, guys. So, as you can see here, I ain't got my camera. I'll get my cam popping here. All right. As you can see here, jumping right over to let's go straight to the Bitcoin, right? Because we're gonna touch some things and we're gonna move quick, then we're gonna move on, right? All right. So jumping right to the crypto space, I'm gonna remove this Bitcoin crash off the screen here, right? And let's go ahead and make this a big screen here so you guys can see it clearly. All right. So looking at the chart here, you guys see what's going on here with crypto, right? More affection of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is not subjected, it's not immune to market sell-off in tandem, to what we're dealing with as well. Now, if you look down here at the very bottom of my screen here on TradingView, this blue line at the very bottom is pretty much the S&P 500. It's the comparative analysis line chart to show you how any asset is faring up against that of the S&P 500, right? We use the S&P 500 as a benchmark asset. Why? Because it's the most liquid product pretty much on the planet. Of course, the SPX is the mother of all tickers, but the SPY is one that's more liquid traded more than any, right? Because of, again, the spiders as a whole, right? So as you can see here, the chart somewhat looks like that of what? The S&P 500, right? Outside of the drop that it just got, right? Meaning crypto just got is pretty much pullback. It was trending at around 58,000. Of course, at some point it was riding back up near the 60,000, 68,000 when you hit that high, 69, whatever. And then we kind of pull back up to 200 moving average here. This is on the hourly chart. I don't have the daily. I should have the daily up, but I'm gonna use the hourly chart just for this little brief, synopsis. And so, of course, in that we just saw the market starting to produce these little bear flags, as you can see there, break down off the high. You lose the 20-day moving average. That's major, right? That's major, right? And now you just have a point where you're just trying to, get some comeback. It's failing, and then you drop a little lower, right? So technically, all we see here is just a bunch of lower highs, right? We see lower highs printing. Nothing to kind of get all excited about, but the dip buyers are coming in and saying, hey, this is a dip buying opportunity, right? So let me go to the daily chart. That way it looks a little bit more direct, right? You can see it a little bit more, firsthand with the daily chart, right? Let's go to the daily really quick, right? I'm gonna make this quick as possible. Again, thank you for tuning in and thank you for being patient, right? We're gonna get to it and get off this thing so y'all can go back to enjoying your Sunday, right? Sunday fun day, right? So clearly, as you can see here, I got a line drawn. We do this line a while back here, recently discussing the idea of where the crypto market is sitting at in terms of it's a pseudo support, right? We realize that, and we say if we break that, of course, that's going to be problematic. Well, guess what? We broke that, and it's not so much that it was not known that it could happen. It's just we have to be able to accept that the markets are more intertwined in terms of the crypto space and equity markets than we give them credit for. Now, we like to say that crypto is an inflationary hedge, right? It's a hedge against equity markets, right? And some would say it's an inflationary hedge, right? That's how they've been deeming it of late, right? The institution that's been trying to buy into it through all these different platforms, that's how they're looking at it because they're of the mindset of the old school antiquated way of looking at market. They've yet to realize the specialness that crypto markets offer. Of course, we still have people like Charlie Munger, right? The right-hand man of Warren Buffett coming out saying things like, again, crypto was the worst thing ever invented, right? Of course, going back to Warren Buffett's comments that he made, I think in 2018, when he said that pretty much, Bitcoin is rat poison squared, right? Of course, going to make this stuff up. Well, that's because this is an investment outside of their time, their understanding, their nature of understanding of how markets work and innovation. They may look at it from a fundamental aspect, say, well, it was really not tied to anything. Well, then the crypto bulls will say, well, guess what? We have the blockchain. All right. What does the financial markets have besides the central banks and the Federal Reserve that manipulates currency, destroys economies, that makes life harder for most average investors because there's too much of what? Catering to people who got wealth already. What about the little guys? You see, there's always an argument for both sides of money. And you in the middle have to realize where you stand in the middle of all that. That way you don't get caught up in feelings because you more, personality worshiping because this guy saying it as opposed to that guy. No, that's not what we train over here. We train about following the money, period. Because that's the number one thing that moves market, regardless if it being ethical, unethical. Not saying they invest in nothing that's unethical, but we do realize that that's how the governments work, right? They control a lot of your daily existence, and nothing you can really do about it unless you're gonna move to an island somewhere that no one controls, right? So while in such a scenario, you got to play ball. You got to play ball with the right mindset, right, and the right financial information. So again, going back to crypto, right? It had diverged away from equity markets for a while back. Then it got back on course with equity market because number one thing you guys got to realize about Bitcoin or just the crypto space has appeared. Now, clearly, you see right there when I back chart out, you see what's going on right here, right? It ain't hard to figure out what's going on here, right? You see obviously a double top coming our way across this whole scenario here. Now, what makes this interesting, now, even though we've double top and we just now starting to get a pullback on Bitcoin, and it seems like a lot because you're like, man, the thing was just at 68,000, 69,000, and it's all the way back down to 48,000, $20,000 drop, right? Look, you're dealing with a ticket of an item that's 68,000, right? And so where you may feel like you can get, from 68,000 to 48,000, whatever, right? And you say to yourself, man, that's a whole lot, right? That's a lot, right? It really isn't in the grand scheme of things. Again, because we're looking at it from the top down as opposed from the bottom up. So as an investor, base case, when we say the base effect, when you break things down in the perspective in terms of where they came from, of course, if I began to kind of squinch this chart down, right, going all the way back to when we were just hitting this thing, after it had this last massive correction after 2017 fly high up near 20 racks, right, where we all kind of hit it big, it pulled back from 20,000 all the way down to 3,000, basically 100, right? I call that bottom. I'm still excited about that to this day, right? So we ain't going below 3,100, and so lo and behold, we held at that point, all right? But here's the deal. We went from 3,100 bucks, again, back in 2018, December 2018, and we went up and made a new high, 68,000. We doubled the 20,000, tripled it, basically 20,000 level that we were back in 2017. Keep in mind, it's just 2021. This happened in 2017, right? It's 2020, so that's like 4 years. 4 years is asset literally, and if we use 2017 as the benchmark year, where most people got into crypto, because most people did. Let's be honest. Some people in it in 2016, but these were the diehards, right? 2015, the diehards. Most people start getting really excited about crypto in 2017. How do we know? Because the numbers don't lie. Charts don't lie. Look at the growth in 2017 on this chart here, right? This is how we tell people, this is how you can follow the money, and you follow in this perspective, numbers don't lie, right? Because you see the level of what? The logarithmic, the linear move that Bitcoin made. 2017, right here, right? Right here, right? We came into 2017, we hit a low right at the back of January around about $700 a token. That was January of 2017. By December, right, of 2017, 17 December, whatever, we were up here near 20,000. 700 bucks turned into 20,000. So if you bought one token for 700 bucks at the beginning of 2017, it was worth $20,000 by the end of the year. Moment of silence. Moment of silence for anybody want to come at you sideways asking you why these things matter. See how that works? That's the importance of this, right? So that's why we talk about it in this essence. And that's why there's a bull case in terms, especially the young investors, when they look at the old antiquated investors, people like a Warren Buffett, whatever, and say to these people, yeah, you was the man in your time, but things are changing now, right? Things are changing. What's going on? Earbud Tamika in the building. Peace, power, and profit to you. What's going on, Family Rams in the building? Shout out to everybody, right? So this is how we combat, old, ways of looking at financial literacy, in terms of understanding that you guys are the new innovators and basically, you guys are the curators of what's to come, right? Because your money going to be instrumental in terms of the investments going forward to kind of really map out the future of how, the digitization of money is going to look like. That's what we look at when we look at Bitcoin. It's digital money, right? Think about how easy your life is now that you have the ability to port money over without having to go to an ATM, and you just making money moves right from your cell phone, laptop, computer, right? Okay, what we call it financial technology, right? Fintech. Financial technology is what? It's phenomenal in terms of its use case and what it has done in terms of making life easier. Well, the blockchain as a whole, or we'll just use Bitcoin for now because I get it. People want to beat the Bitcoin drum. These aspects, these assets, these tokens are also having different use cases that help along that process. Again, you take a asset like XRP, right? Right. Again, the SEC been on their back for a reason because they just can't. They fail to realize that XRP is undercutting what the financial money movers that have been making a lot of money off people for years, like MoneyGram, Western Union, right? The banks, when you go port money over from your bank to do a wire transfer, right? And they charge you money that you have sitting in their bank account to use their service that you should be paying for, the wire transfer money. Let that marinate for a moment. They charge you to use your own money to send it some money overseas or whatever, right? This is the look. This is why people don't mess with banks like that anymore, and they're running from banks because it's been a racket since this beginning. They charge all the exorbitant fees. They just kind of hit you with all kind of penalty, and then they take you through the ringer and what? And scrubbing your history before they even allow you to have an account with them. They got to know where your parents stayed in the last 6 years, what your financial credit score is looking like, all this stuff. Hey, bro, you're going to be holding my money. I ain't holding yours. How you need to be all in my business like that, right? Couldn't make this stuff up, right? So this is why people run into crypto, because the use case that gives you that level of anonymity is phenomenal, right? It's phenomenal, right? You get to play ball from a whole new different perspective. Does that make sense, guys? Y'all with me here, right? So this is why the use case in terms of these assets are very profound, and they're going to be around for quite a while. And so when you see Bitcoin pulling back here again, when I back the chart out, look like this here, it looks like it's very inconsequential to the bigger move that crypto that already has made over the past 4 years. Again, $700 to now 68,000 in 4 years. Could you imagine an investment scenario like that anywhere in your lifespan that gives you that level of return on investment, return on equity, whatever, in that short period of time? Anybody go? Even a person like a Warren Buffett, right? A Jamie Dimon, right? JP Morgan, right? Some of the biggest critics of crypto way back in the days, definitely so. Somewhat still today in some cases. Imagine with their level of buying power, if they just had a different understanding then, and they could have been buying tokens at 700 some bucks a share, and they held it all the way to 68,000. Would you think they'll be beating that same drum they're beating today about why Bitcoin is poison squared? Obviously not. Because at the end of the day, even though they try to take the ethical route that they bigger than all this and they can't invest in it because they can't see putting investors' money in there. Well, guess what? They're private accounts, so they can do your own. You ain't got to do it with do it with your clients' money. Do it with your own. Nonetheless, they will be 68 times richer than they were 4 years ago. Trying to trade Lockheed Martin, Boeing, even Apple. They'll be 68,000 times wealthier, dang near, right? 6,800%, somewhere around 68,000, of course, if you're coming from the zero area. But y'all get the point. Like, you're not going to beat them returns in 4 years. I don't care who you are, where you are, what you got. That's just a fact. So, yeah, again, base effect, things look different. Top down, it feels like it's painful. Because if you buy in anywhere at the top, of course it feels painful. Right? You're like, all right, dog, man, Dooker told me to buy in up here at 68,000. Boy, old little Jimmy came home for Thanksgiving. He was all excited. Blah, 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 whatever. Right? Even though it fell from 68,000 before Thanksgiving hit. But nonetheless, y'all get my point. Right? They were buying it around 58,000, 56,000 if you went home talking about, crypto. But here's the deal. Like any kind of investment, you see the ideal of how this stuff works. So you broke below the 200 moving that, right? That was a major line of saying that we had to hold. We get that. 50,000 was pretty much the pseudo support. Okay, we broke through it. Now we're pinging back up towards it, right? You see it trying to get back up there. So clearly around 50,000 is resistance. All right, so cooler heads prevail. What's the next level support below where we at now? Obviously around about what? We know that there's some chatter right here around the 47,000 here. We get that. Look at the area here. That's some support. Even though we had a big wick, see that big wick right there? It wicked out below that. It came down to 44 and then 45,000. Now, wicks do, account for indecisiveness in markets. Now, but also you got to keep in mind the body of candles are showing you who who are the true holders of the asset, in terms of what they're doing, right? So this latest candle here is still kind of, matriculating around that 47,000 area, 46,000. And today, because we're up 48,000, we hit 49 at some point earlier in the AM hours, whatever, give or take. Not going to worry about that. What I want people to focus on, me personally, of course, this is not investment advice. It's just saying, hey, look at this thing from a little bit more long-term perspective, right? It's good to make a lot of money and see your money going up every day when you look at your account. I get it. It's psychological. It's a victory. But again, if you are in this for the long run and you realize the importance of this asset potentially going over and breaching maybe 100,000 at some point, then yeah, these pullbacks here are numbered just loading zones. And at some point, we'd understand that Bitcoin has also benefited from the Feds pumping money. There, I said it. Don't mistaken that as if, it's 100% tied to equity markets in that regard where it can't diverge from it. Yeah, Bitcoin has benefited from the Feds printing money too. All this excess money in the market, where people got all this excess money to borrow cheap through credit card, putting their money in the crypto, through stimulus checks that came from the government as well, the stimulus checks. All this stuff benefited Bitcoin moving higher. Yeah, that's how investments work. Don't run from that, right? Get excited for the idea that people had opportunity to get into this who were sitting around that didn't have a way to make money because they were shut down from the quarantine and pandemic, jobs got lost. They had at least another source where they could make some money. That's how I look at it. Now, again, I said earlier, there's a gift and a curse to the Federal Reserve in terms of what they've done. We get that. The curse on the back end and how is now that we're dealing with the inflation, that they ran the printing press too long because they were still benefiting the corporations and the lobbyists and the people who really pushed their agenda through to make these people keep with their foot on the pedal. That's how this stuff works. Politicians don't care about your everyday life. They care about how they can make them a bag before they leave out, into the sunset. They're concerned with their gains, right? That's why they gainfully invested in the markets. So where you would think there'd be outrage and really going hard at the Federal Reserve and the Secretary of Treasury for that what they're doing, but again, they politicize even that aspect of government where you don't have that neutrality any longer. It's all about whose side you're on, right? And so, yeah, America's going pretty much the way of, look, insert your, whatever. These people are turning up. They're getting ratchet, right? They're getting more and more ratchet every day, right? Ethics are definitely slipping and sliding away from this opportunity of what we consider to be being able to at least have a level of at least a little fairness, right? I say a little fairness. We know the history here, all right? But you got to make sure you realize that. So guess what? It can come down easily down towards 40,000. I'm going to say it right now, so that way people don't be sitting there, whoa, God, dog, bro, man, I don't understand why. Look, y'all see what's going on here. That's why I say charts don't lie. Look at the chatter area right there. Look at the 200 moving average right there. See, I almost flatlined at that point there, and then it broke out. That right there tells you that it had a level of support building at around that area. Besides all this chatter you see with the candles, the 200 moving average is a nice indication to let you know how money is obviously operating, stabilizing, and presenting opportunity at or below a certain moment. So clearly, right there at that point there, around 41,000, you want to say 40,000, make it an even number, whatever. There's clearly some support, right there to keep in mind. So we're gonna just draw us a line right there, right? So that way, if we do come down, if was a fifth, we all be drawn. If we do come down there, we won't be surprised, right? Because we're below the 200 moving average on the daily chart. The daily chart is a precursor for all charts. The daily chart. Always look at the one that has a D up there, right? And then you could, go down that 4 hour, whatever. But yeah, so if it does, guess what? Discount shopping moment, right? Discount shopping moment. Now, of course, if we break that, guess what? Nothing to be alarmed. Okay, your next best support going to be right around about 38,000. We've been there before, remember? See right here? Chatter. See right here? Chatter. All that around 38,000, right? So nothing new there. Nothing new there in terms of that. And that still puts the asset up exorbitant a lot higher than where it was literally, at $3,100 in 2018, right? It feels different when you're buying again up here in the 50,000s, in the 60,000, you add into your position. That's why you don't go all in on any investment, right? Unless you at the floor, right? Best of your ability, that is. So yeah, you always dollar cost averaging. You nibble in terms of when markets are pulling back. That's when you nibble in. I got an extra $10 laying around. Let me add it right here. And this seems to be a notable drop We lost 5% today. That's notable for this asset. Or it dropped 20%. This is notable bigger asset drop for this asset. I add a little bit here. And you just kind of keep playing the understanding that these assets has a floor underneath them at some point, right? They always want to make the statement that Bitcoin is going to zero, right? We hear that a lot, don't we? It's going to zero. No, it's not, right? No, it's not. The only way it goes to zero, I guarantee you this. The only way it goes to zero, I guarantee if Bitcoin go to zero, it's going to take the equity market, most of the equity markets with it. Forex going to be destabilized. Gold market's going to be up in shambles, and the equity market's going to take a big haircut too. There I said it. Right? Because too much institutional money is also now being attached to it. And on top of that, just to, go a little deeper, right? On top of that, right? People realize that this is their what? A lot of the new money, when I say new money, meaning a lot of the newer generation investors, they're starting to realize this is their way of being what? Rebellious against the fiat currency system that has always displaced them from real opportunity of growth and wealth. Keep in mind, guys, matter of fact, can y'all see my screen clear? It's showing a little fuzzy on my side. Can y'all see it clear on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter? You guys just tuning in. Does my screen show clear? Can you see my charts clear? For some reason, it looks a little blurry, right? Let me know if y'all can press 1 in the chat if y'all can see the screen clear, right? Because I might need to take this background off that may be affecting the clarity. Press 1 if y'all can see it clear. Press 2 if it's looking a little fuzzy. What's going on, family? I said, Samudo. Peace, power, profit to you, family. Right? It's showing clear? Okay, so it's on my side. So that means my computer running a little hot. That's fine. As long as I can see it clear, that's all that matters to me. We're going to keep rocking. Right? Let's get it. Right? What's going on, family? Ghost Ackman. What's going on, family? My takeaways. Everybody coming through the building. Shout out to y'all. Right? So let's jump right back into it so I can get in and get out you guys. It's Sunday. Get out y'all hair, right? As they say. Right? So again, looking at the chart for what it is, that's why we're not going to be mistaken and confused. Now, clear, if I back the chart out a little bit more, you see what the next support going to be. If we lose 38,000, right? If we lose 38,000, whatever, right? Because I haven't drew a line there quite yet, but y'all see right there, that chatter zone right there. See right here? Going way back over here. See right there, 38,000? See right there? See? That's why we tell people, look to the left, right? To determine the future, right? Always look to the left. Look to the left on them charts. Go back and look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. People have been adding money for a reason. Every time you see an increase in value on any asset, that means somebody's holding. Right? That means somebody holding. They ain't just buying and selling. Somebody holding in the midst of that because they may believe in the asset. Again, a la Roaring Kitty when he sat before Congress and told them to their face, right? I like the stock, right? That's why he invested in GameStop, right? He went based from $20 and rode all the way down to the 500, right? Made a killing, right? But anyway, we know these are more, baseline, use case value assets in terms of the crypto space, in terms of Bitcoin, because we know it's the granddad of all stocks, stocks, tokens. It does have staying power. And so we realize that first to market means something. Look at Elon Musk and Tesla. They're first to market. That's why they get a lot of market share in the EV space. We can't deny that. Yeah, we know there's a lot of, but I guess competition coming. We get that. But it's something that's to be said about first to market. Why? Because you get to iron out all your the problems that other people are going to come into at some point. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't fail either. If you off your game and you're not really innovating and trying to stay ahead of your competitors, guess what? You're going to fail like everybody else, right? So, yeah, they have to keep themselves gainfully employed and make sure they're making all the right moves to kind of keep their foot on the gas pedal. So I say the same thing with Bitcoin, right? Case in point, if anybody going to catch up with Bitcoin, good luck, right? Good luck at this point because it's the most universal coin that's out there. Now, that doesn't negate the tokens that we love and the small altcoins. We're going to invest in them too, trade them too, whatever, swing them too. But realize this is the benchmark a lot of them are attached to. That it's like it's a symbiotic relationship, right? They're attached to the hip of Bitcoin for that same reason because it's the archetype, right? It's the archetype to all that space. So guess what? 30,000 after this level here. If we come down to 40,000, 41,000, whatever, near 42,000, whatever, so be it. Let's go, right? We can deal with it, right? Give or take. I need to make sure I correct that line a little lower, but as of now, y'all get it. I just had it around 41,000. So we'll say 41,000, 42, 40,000, right? Give or take. Now, outside of that, you got another one down here. Again, we said 38,000. And after that, clearly you can see what's going on from here. The next level will be around about 34, 35,000. clear, and then back down to where we was when we had that last break, when we kind of had that ugly news that China had issues as they always do, and the other people would begin to say, well, yeah, this is the point where Bitcoin's finna go back down to low digit, right? And it bounced literally to the T right at that 29,000 area, right? And then we kind of launched up and went up a whole 30,000, right? Literally a 30,000 move from the summertime of this year to the fall time. We went $30,000 upward. Let that marinate for a moment, because jokers don't be want to deal with that. They always get caught in their feelings and trying to say this is why Bitcoin and this and that. They don't see all the money just be coming in and causing these things to move. Now, of course, when we look at the chart from this perspective, it does look like a what? Like a double topping. Again, that's why I say perspective matters, but context also matters. Context matters. So yeah, we're gonna play these pivot points and we're gonna play them methodical, and we're not gonna get giddy, antsy, in our feelings, all that. Just look at the chart. Let it dictate when you feel like it's a good opportunity to add some of your fresh revenue into it. Because a lot of people that's cashing out of equity markets right now are like, okay, where do I put my cash work at? Because they still scared the stock market itself gonna keep coming down, which we're gonna talk about that a little bit too. So they say, well, if I can hedge against the equity markets with the crypto space, then I'm gonna try to go there. But that ain't safe right now, because the equity markets, obviously start pulling back first, and crypto is just now starting to follow a little bit behind it, a little bit, right? It's lagging by a little bit, not a lot. Because again, look down here at the bottom. See this blue line down here? That's the S&P 500, right? That's the S&P 500. Look at this up here, crypto at the top. It looks about the same, almost, right? Even though Bitcoin's like it feel harder there, but that's a lot for the S&P 500, the way it turns over down here at the bottom in the same lightness. It looks almost the same. Let me blow it up so you can see what I'm talking about, right? Let me pull it down here so you guys can see clearly here, right? It looks about the same. See right here? Look at there, right? Kind of on that area there, peaking, pulling back, that little round depression right there, right? There we go. Here, this little pop up right here, kind of riding, pull a little bit, pull back, right? And pull back, and then here we go. See how that work? They look almost synonymous, parallel, if one would say. Now, the only scenario here is that if you look at this also, look at the RSI on Bitcoin on the daily. We're down here at we basically at oversold levels, right? Clearly, if you drop from 69,000 to 40,000, 20,000, that should hit oversold, right? Clearly, right? So at some point you're gonna get a little micro bounce, and we did. Of course, you had to bounce off this 44,000 back up near 50,000, and now we're kind of treading water, barely above this little chop zone area right here to the left here, right? This area right here, you see my little cursor mouse, little pointer finger. We're just chopping around that little area there until that breaks, right? So again, this is how you're gonna itemize the scenario going forward. So if you say, well, if the risk, if we're risk off at this point, then yeah, let it breathe a little bit. I know automatically I have a benchmark indicator right here, the 20-day moving average, that tells me everything. Why? Because everything below it is bearish and everything above it is what? Bullish. That's elementary, my dear. You can teach your kids how to follow a 200-day moving average, and that's all they need to learn starting out early. Everything below a 200-day moving average on the daily chart is bearish, mom, dad. Everything above a 200-day moving average, mom and dad, is bullish. See how that works? 101, right? 101, guys. You can teach them this, right? At least from that perspective, right? So again, don't be mistaken, of course, you being able to see that, because you guys need to realize and understand exactly the importance of that. Y'all with me there? Does it make sense? Right? So you need to make sure you model your mentality and your emotions behind that as well, and realize that just because it's pulling back like this, the sky's not falling. It's not the end of the world, right? Bitcoin has a lot of support points, and before you even get to the point of saying that there's a critical moment of alarm or alert to be worried about, that's not here yet. We're not there yet. Trust me. It feels like for people that bought in up here, I get it. 60,000. Oh man, they told me to buy in up here, man. Whatever. You don't go all in and no asset at any price at a point where an asset is peaking. And on top of that, if there's other macroeconomic headwinds that are starting to kind of move around, make everybody a little finicky and skittish, then yeah, you might want to be cautious like everybody else. Even though you still be feeling like, win moon, right? Win moon, we're going to the moon, right? I was promised a Lambo. I was told there'll be Lambos, right? Right? Y'all, of course, y'all know how that go, right? Right? Because jokers always be like, we both be going to the moon, this, that, third. Yeah, how it go? See, that's most people right now that got in that don't understand the knowledge of this, right? They just chasing, right? I was told there'd be Lambos, right? They want a Rari or a Lambo or a Bugatti or something like that, but I was told they'd be Lambo. Well, guess what? You're gonna have to wait to get that Lambo, right? You're gonna have to be patient and realize that this is the process of curation, right? And so the same way you've seen people turn money over real quick because the pandemic offered them that opportunity, because they had stimulus checks and the free range to buy the stocks like AMC and GameStop and Tesla and all that stuff. Well, guess what? These cryptocurrencies or these altcoins, whatever, some of them do have great use case stories. And so you want to be more careful in finding the ones who have a solid use case. Like one of the ones, of course, I've been talking about for like forever. This not investment advice. I gotta say, what's going on, fellow Jacquez? I see you in the building. Peace, power, property as well coming through, right? One of the assets in the crypto. What's going on, Rich B? I see you in the building. Future Fund Show. I see you in the house as well. Shout out to you, Future Fund Show, right? Everybody coming through as well that I might have missed earlier. What's going on, brother Rich B? Again, yeah, you want to be cautious and understand that just like a stock, you're investing in the stock for a use case because you like the technology or whatever the innovation value that they offer. Some of the altcoins provide you that. They're not just spoof coins. They're not like a Doge coin just in the aspect of what it stands for, right? Or Shibu Inu. No, there are some coins that they have great utility case value to them, and they're going to move accordingly. So LRC was one of my main ones, right? Y'all know I've been talking about that for quite a while, right? No secret there, right? So real quick, let's jump over there like really quick and hit a couple of those, and we're gonna move on, get on out of here, get out you guys' hair. I keep saying that, right? All right. So really quick, let's jump over here real quick. All right. So where we at? Okay, yeah, let's go over here real quick. I want to show you guys this. All right. Again, shout out to you guys on your Sunday. Thank y'all for tuning in, right? Sharing a little bit of your time and space with me. And this, we just politicking a little bit about money, right? Because anytime you look at an asset that has the ability to appreciate, it's a form of money, right? Currency, right? So let's run over here real quick. All right. So of course, Mana was one that I've been talking about for quite a while as well, right? Now, Mana, well, especially of late, because as soon as the information came out by Meta, right? Facebook turned their name to Meta, and they're moving toward this metaverse stuff. Of course, I've been, watching Decentraland for a while back. But let's go there, right? Let's go back about a month, right? Before we broke out, right? At around this area down here at the lows, right? Now let's go back to a year because again, I was very excited about telling people about when we were down here around the 70-something cents area. That's when I was like, hey, this information, man, about this whole, this meta stuff and meta book, all this stuff, guys, it's going to be big. All right, this company already had been around. I mean, this pretty much decentralized token, but the ideal of its use case in terms of being able to build this kind of metaverse, right? Decentraland, right? Decentralized virtual reality. Of course, we were already dealing with virtual reality. Anyway, look about Oculus. How long has Oculus been around? Before Facebook bought Oculus, Oculus was something that everybody was still excited about, right? In the use case that it offered. Now that people are starting to realize that this is just Sims 2.0. Now, how many of you guys remember the game Sims? Right, I'm finna go there with y'all a little bit now. Right, how many of you guys remember the video game Sims that on Facebook? Got the Xbox and PlayStation, right? Sims, right? The old school video game Sims. Y'all remember that? Right? People had chance, like a lot of women were into Sims more so than the dudes, believe it or not, right? Because Sims was that idea where you get to make your this virtual town, right? You get to run it, right? The restaurants and all this stuff like that, your house, you're interacting with people, walking around with a big diamond on top of your head, right? That might have been the old symbol for Ethereum way back then. We didn't even know it. Hint, hint, wink, wink. All right. So think about that. So now that's coming full circle. That technology is coming full circle. And some of you guys were right at the forefront of it because this was in y'all generation, especially if you're born in the 80s, right? Y'all know definitely Sims very well. Even the 90s, right? You know Sims very well. So guess what? Now these tokens like Decentraland, Sandbox, Smurf, that's going to be selling digital real estate in the the metaverse. Look, that's why these tokens started to bang. So as soon as this one started breaking out, I was already alerting people, and we sat there and did it because some of y'all was right there. All right, it started breaking out. I said, guys, we're breaking out. Here we go. This is the information. This is why it's breaking out. Blah blah blah. And so we watched it go from 70 some odd cents into the dollar, into the $2 area, and then into the $3 area, and then lately it just went all the way up to like $5, right? Up there $5 and $6. guys, we all that happened in less than about maybe a month and a half. Let that marinate for a moment. Moment of silence, right? Couldn't make this stuff up. The charts don't lie. Again, we were down here. I was beating the drum at 70 some odd cents, and we ran all the way up there about a month and a half. And all this stuff is on the back case of the use case that Decentraland offers in terms of what? Future use case in the metaverse. And we just get started because I didn't even delve into the ideas of the NFTs, right? The NFTs is definitely was getting more airtime before the metaverse started picking up more airtime. Everybody started going to the NFT space because they realized this is another form of what? Digitize what? I guess, scarcity of artwork or of assets that people can now what? Trade around and use and, as in terms of a rarity. You remember, pretty much making a memorabilia out of, either fungible item in terms of a jersey or old throwback jersey or NFL ring or trophy. Okay, that's what you do with the equity side of it, right? Hall of Fames, I think they do that. That's the stock HFV, and then there's Dolphin, right? They do that. That's the NFT companies that deal on the equity side, right? So y'all might want to look those up. And also on the crypto side or the blockchain side, there's Decentraland, there's Sandbox, there's Smurf, there's XYO, right? What else? We got what's the other one? There's a couple others too. Of course, you got LRC, right? My favorite, right? One of my favorites, LRC, right? Because they're ERC20, right? Ethereum-based platform, right? Smart contract, and they deal with NFTs, right? You need smart contracts to help people be able to what? Move these NFTs around for authentication. That's what LRC does, right? In terms of giving them that space to be able to do that. Now there's others too. So really quick, let's jump over there. Now it's been getting beat up lately, like everything else, right? So hey, that's the market, right? That's the market, right? So we're kind of back and forth a little bit here, right? Let me see why. Okay, I need to go to the actual price. Oh, I forgot. I'm on CoinDesk. It's gonna go through all this here. We're trying to show you all these main ones. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But LRC is one course I've been talking about, right? Whatever, right? And I like it for a use case because I was riding LRC ever since it was like about 17 cents to 20 cents, right? That's when I was hitting LRC, right? And lately we just been breaking out, right? We've been breaking out. All right, so there we go. All right. Because of the NFT space, the whole idea behind the idea of the metaverse too, and smart contract scenarios as a whole. So again, let's back it out a year, right? Everything looks tight when you're looking at it up front. But again, going back even, just October of this year was at 40 cents a token. October of this year, not last year, this year, 40 cents a token. Of course, like I said, I was hitting it way back in the teens and the 20 cents area when it was actually even 20 cents in July of this year. Couldn't make this stuff up, right? I had been in it way back over here, right? Way back in 2020 when it was right 16 cents a token, 17 cents, 20. I just been adding, going through all this, going up, peaking, going sideways, consolidate, bringing it back down, all the way back down, got back down to 20, add some more, and it's been adding. And guess what? We made our big pop. Got all the way up here as high as like $3.86, near $4 a token from 16 cents. Less than a year, right? Less than a year, right? Because that was December of last year. This is November. So that means technically it's less than a year, right? 16 cents to $4 a token. And you had a whole year to accumulate, consolidate, and add if you believe in the what? In the technology, in the space of what this token brings. See how that works? That's use case. That's a different type of faith, ain't it? That's a different type of faith. When you realize the power of the use case of a particular token, knowing that it will have its day based on the fact that people are going to come to the adoption of it when they realize the importance of it and how it ties into everyday use values of innovation. That's why the metaverse is taking off now, because and these other stocks and tokens that are in that space are starting to benefit too. So how that work? That's how you realize research and realize gains in this investment space. It takes patience. Knowledge brings power. Power equals profit. I repeat, knowledge brings power. Power equals profit. You cannot get the profit without understanding the proper aspect of having the power. Power is confidence and knowing and how to move, maneuver, right? You only get that by having proper knowledge. See how that work? You can't work backwards in this. You got to start from the top, the bottom and go up. Knowledge first, power second, profit third. Simple as that. So that's why I'm excited about what LRC. Now, guess what? We didn't pull back dang near, $2 off the high, right? And guess what? You think I'm concerned? No. Because I said I'm still thinking about, okay, this is starting to make a great attractive dollar cost averaging opportunity here, right? That's how I look at it. No more, no less, right? Now, year to date, because see, year to date, look at the returns on year to date. Y'all see that right there? Year to date returns, right? Year to date basically means what? The percentage change in price compared to with the closing price of last day prior to the calendar year. So basically, December 31st of last year to where we at today, this token is up basically 1,190%. Moment of silence there. Year to date, so basically January 1st, we want to say that. We say December 31st, but 1,190%. So now you go look around equity stocks and stuff like that, like, okay, which assets are up 1,000% today? From the beginning of 2021 to today, which assets y'all know stocks that are up 1,000% right now? Anybody? Go. Anybody. Right? See, this is what I'll be talking about, right? So again, this is not me beating the drum on LRC. This is not me telling you go buy it. That's not the case. I'm only pushing the value of how, you have to be very level-headed when you start thinking about the value you put towards certain things and how other people may be starting to value them too, because that's how investments work, right? It's basically you see it, somebody else may be seeing it, somebody else might start thinking about it. See, that's investor sentiment. That's what they call investor sentiment, right? And then you start realizing the proper value of what this asset may be worth based upon its use case or utility value. So I always tell people, again, numbers don't lie. Show me 1,000% gain in an equity stock right now that started at these prices, right? But you can get more for less, and it's up 1,000% right now. Anybody? There's some of them out there, of course, but again, they're not so easy coming off the tongue like that. Now we can look at a lot of assets in the crypto space, and we'll see that instantly. We're like, okay, dang it. And it's not me saying that I value crypto stocks, stocks, tokens, that of the equity stocks. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you have opportunity afforded to you across all avenues. That's the point. So while people are panicking right now, it's all crashing. I told y'all it was this. I told you it was garbage. You're going to hear all that. That's what FUD. That's FUD. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. Because number one, they were late to the party. They didn't get a chance to get in early and make the money you did. And or they just got to be bearish for the fact that, again, it feels good to be that woman. Everybody kind of, I guess, having a degradation in their value. It's not that you're taking an L because you don't lose until you sell. But the fact that people kind of coming down right now, this kind of euphoric high. Right? That everybody was just sitting around just making money, whatever. That's not the case. It's not all about that. That's why I say you got to separate emotion from reality here. What we're doing is not based on, a lottery system. This is not Russian roulette. This is not, rolling up the dice, right? Flipping up the card. No, we're actually trying to put a strategy behind these different assets and these tokens that have utility value and say, okay, this is the use case. This is the future looks like. This is how universal this may be used in a way where it may procure income or interest on it. See how that works? It's simple as that. So that's why. So again, those are just some Loot Ring, Sandbox, like I said before, Smurf. Smurf is even more. That's one you want to keep your eye on that because they already started that NFT digitized, auction that's going on right now. There's assets out there, man. This stuff is crazy. Somebody just bought a digital yacht. Let me repeat, a digital yacht on the metaverse, right? A digital yacht the other day on the metaverse, right? Well, they don't have it on here. They have it. What they have it under? They may have it on something else. Let's see. If I am mistaken, let me see if I can find here. Where make they have it? Let's see if I can pull up. But this news just came out. So let me go to the article. Let me do it that way then. Let me come over here. Again, this stuff is crazy, guys. It's crazy. All right, it's crazy. All right. Somebody bought a digital yacht the other day for, I think, like, gosh, I want to say like $650,000, something like that. 65,000 or 650,000. Right. I want to definitely find that article if I can. I know I posted somewhere on my page. Um, it's just crazy just sitting there thinking about it though. Like people are buying digital, tokens for a space, right? Of again, this metaverse space or whatever, right? It's just like couldn't make this stuff up, right? You couldn't make this stuff up, right? And they're banking that more people also will, start doing the same thing, right? They're gonna start doing the same thing, right? And that's a form of them digitizing art, right? Their digitalization of art, right? Um, and people gonna do that, right? You know, let me see. Let's put it this way, and that's gonna start happening more than than you can think, right? So yeah, you might want to, you know, start realizing that it's going to get a little crazy. All right, so run over here really quick, really quick, really quick. All right. I'm trying to do this stuff really fast, guys. Thank y'all for working with me and rolling with me. I'm trying to blow through this stuff fast as I can so I can get on and get off, right? So it's a lot of information. I'm talking fast for a reason, but y'all will be able to go back and watch it over if you want. But let me show you this really quick here in terms of the metaverse, right? Metaverse real estate, right? So again, so as you can see right here, some of the topics I already said how to buy virtual real estate in Decentraland, right? Decentraland is obviously what? Obviously what? Mana, right? Right? MANA. Now there's other ones too, of course, but Decentraland as a whole started with Mana first, right? In that perspective of it. So of course that's a big up for Mana, right? And Metaverse Group, COO, and all this stuff, right? So we'll hit a couple of little articles just on GP. Right. So you guys, see where we're going with this here. All right. So let me see if you guys follow along with me over here. Hold on. Is it showing? Okay, it's showing. All right. Y'all with me? Okay, yeah, y'all with me. Yeah, digital boat, right? They bought a digital boat for 600 some odd thousand. That's crazy. Right. Hold up. Where's okay? Now they asked me for this trial stuff. Let me watch out, man. Nobody finna buy all this stuff, man. Give me the free article, man. What a free article at? Okay, I'll tell you what. Y'all want to play that game now? I'll move on to something else, bro. I'll move on to something else. Business Insider. Ain't nobody finna be doing all that. All right. So real estate, has gone meta, right? This came out a couple days ago, right? Right. So the metaverse is getting hotter, right? Not hot like a delicious meal or a Finiciana, right? Finiciana, right? Or sauna, I should say Siana. All right. This is mostly fictional, right? Virtual world is getting hot like real estate market, right? Like the real estate market, right? Because lately it is one, right? If you have enough money and courage, you can now buy up digital tracts of land in the metaverse. I remember last year having this conversation with a lot of you guys when we were talking about the idea that people gonna start buying like digital advertisement. Like here's how you know it to be true, right? How it came out. Like they say, everything that happens in the movies is pretty much a precursor of what's coming in the future. Like I'm finna go there with y'all real quick, right? So don't y'all come for me and be laughing, acting crazy. Have any of y'all seen the movie Wreck-It Ralph? Right? Y'all know the movie Wreck-It Ralph. Remember the old video game Wreck-It Ralph? They ended up making a movie out of it. Two of them, right? They got a movie Wreck-It Ralph, right? How many of y'all seen the movie Wreck-It Ralph? Right? Right? I saw both of them. That's right. I did. I saw both of them. Right? How many of y'all seen Wreck-It Ralph? Right? I'm finna go there really quick. Right? Wreck-It Ralph. Right? Y'all saw Wreck-It Ralph, right? Especially the second one. Especially the second one. Right? Especially the second one. Notably the second one, I should say. Right? What did y'all see when Ralph and the little driver, the little whatever, little driver went to that to the internet, right? And inside that internet, what was they showing all inside of the internet? It was a whole bunch of what? Digital advertisement. They had to pay to have their branding. The same when you watch a movie like Batman, Superman, they had to pay. eBay, all this stuff was inside. That's digital advertisement. They had to pay for that branding. They had to pay for that branding. That was the metaverse in a lot of ways in that movie. I'm trying to dumb it down in layman terms so y'all can see the nature of that. Okay, fast forward to today with the Oculus and Oculus Rift and all this metaverse stuff that Facebook, people are now starting to pay for digital art and advertisement that's going to be obviously relegated to some of these metaverse platforms that people are going to have their stuff wanting to have these stuff brandished in. And they're laying claim to that space. It's like buying real estate, like buying real land. You buying digital land, a digital billboard. So yeah, if people would have paid $60,000, $65,000, whatever, or $650,000 for a digital piece of art of a yacht inside of a metaverse, rendition of a little whatever simulated world, and inside that yacht would be parked right there, and everybody gonna see that. It might have the name of the person who bought it, whatever. I don't look. It's crazy to think about it. Like, it's crazy to fathom that people got this much money just to blow on stuff like that, right? So that's why these things are going to become more relevant and prevalent. So much like a website and part of a larger World Wide Web, there are countless companies, including Meta, obviously need Facebook, right, building their own virtual realms where they hope people will soon gather as their digital avatars to play games, right? You're going to pay for your digital avatar. So once you have an avatar, you could probably, privatize it, license, whatever. It's you. Nobody can use it. It's kind of like a copyright or a trademark. To play games and all that stuff in the metaverse. So play games, buy things, interact with ads. The emerging real estate market for these three-dimensional spaces is virtual reality, right? Including everything from virtual concert venues. Here come Jay-Z, Nas. They were rapping in the metaverse, right? Bars all in the metaverse, right? Goodness, right? And shopping malls to houses and monuments. Let that marinate. Anticipates a future in which digital property owners can work with brands that want a presence in various iterations of the metaverse. There's a lot of movies that's already out on Disney, Pixar, whatever, where they're pretty much displaying that. Where people are going to be, again, this is the rendition they use, all kind of overweight, fat, sitting back in chairs with a big Slurpee cup, 2,000, 72-ounce cup of Slurpee, whatever. Food in the other hand, and some virtual Oculus Rift goggles on, living their world through virtual reality. And they just, going through all these different realms and metaverse spaces, and they just, buying stuff through there and all that stuff. Could make this stuff up. You're going to be able to go to Amazon in the future using your digital, Oculus glasses, or whatever you use, right? Your virtual reality glasses. And you're going to be on there swiping through stuff virtually and buying stuff. You're going to be in there just with your goggles on, right? Swiping stuff and just going through stuff. And you're going to be pointing through there, and it's going to be selecting it for you. You're going to buy it. You're going to do all that stuff digital. Let that marinate, right? True story. It's going there. eBay the same way. It's going there. You're going to be all on DoorDash ordering food with virtual glasses on. Like, yep, let me get that. Yep. That steak look good when the Oculus glasses. That's where we're going. One way or the other, right? Hate, like, love it, indifferent to it, right? I'm just the investor. I'm not the whatever. Right. So one of the first companies to get into the digital real estate business is Metaverse Group, right? Remember that name. Right. Remember that name, Metaverse Group, right? For a reason, right? Because if they say they're the first, that means they got somewhat of a head start for now. And they're gonna have to try to find a way to keep that head start. They are the first, right? Let me write that in the back chat here. Right? So you guys can, find it later. Right? Metaverse Group. First in the digital real estate space, right? Sorry about the typo, that's typing fast, right? They're the first, right? Which operates a virtual world called Decentraland. Of course, y'all know I'm all about Decentraland for various reasons, as I've said before. Right? You click on Decentraland, what do you see right here? It takes you instantly to what? The token I was just in there talking about. Right? Mana. I mean, y'all see this stuff. I ain't making this stuff up now. I want Joker come from like, man, you just talking, bro. No, I'm not. You seeing it firsthand like everybody else seeing it, right? That's the central land, right? MANA, right? That little token. So again, 70 some odd cents, 70, 60 cents, 70 cents. We wrote it all with the 6, right? And it ain't done, right? I'm just gonna say that. I'm not telling you if you should, if you shouldn't. I'm just saying that it's not done. Anytime Facebook put out anything in terms of them having progress with a little metaverse stuff or any other news that's big news surrounding space, yeah, they're gonna them little assets gonna run, them little tokens gonna run too. Yeah, hairstyles, all that, right? It's crazy. People going, that's how crazy. You're gonna be able to license some of that stuff. You can be the creator and license it and be in that space. So yeah, that's mana. That's mana, right? So that's why, of course, I was beating the drum on that little asset the way I was, because I was like, hey, guys, this is big. This is big news. So I literally spent, y'all know too, because some of y'all in them groups, I literally spent about what? Almost a half a day, if not the whole day. It was on a weekend too, I think. I spent the whole day going in on mana, posting the price when it was going up, putting articles about it. I mean, it's all over, my little pages. And this is why, right? When y'all see me getting a little hungry like that, hunger like it, yeah, it's something to it. I'm digging, right? Look at this. Parcel and real estate aspect of some of these tokens. You already starting to see the numbers on some of this stuff. Vegas trip, right? Look at this. Look at this. 23,999 on the Ethereum network. That's why I say Ethereum gonna be the winner over the end. I told y'all Ethereum is gonna overtake use case in terms of Bitcoin. I was talking about that 2018-ish. I was excited about 2017, but 2018 started to really make sense to me. 2019, it was like, oh, almost for certain that this is the space you want to be in terms of Ethereum. Why? Because the ERC20, right? Y'all always hear me say that ERC20, baby. I used to say that a lot for a reason. Because ERC20 smart contracts is the digital future that all the banks going to end up having to get in. Fintech companies going to have to get in. Large corporations, they're going to have to get in, because that's a form of what? Authentication, right? They feel more safe and secure when they have those digital smart contracts that ERC20 has in terms of security. That's why they favor Ethereum over Bitcoin. And they like dump on Bitcoin, but they love Ethereum. See how that work? Of course, that's why Ethereum been rising higher and harder and faster than it seemed like it has been Bitcoin, or it's taking less losses, because a lot of institutional money running into Ethereum because they feel like it's playing catch up to Bitcoin too. Of course, they ain't dumb, but no, they do like the technology behind Ethereum. Moment, let that marinate, right? So this is why this stuff is crazy, right? Look at this stuff. Even got a digital location on it and all this stuff. I mean, the parcel of this space, this Vegas Tri-Estate Coliseum, basically entryway. Like, oh man, this stuff is crazy, guys. Like, Joker's like, bro, this is a little too much for me. I can't get. You ain't got to get deep into all that stuff there quite yet. You'll eventually, you'll find stuff, whatever, right? But you'll see over time. Like, I'm gonna put this in another perspective. Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, how many of you guys know the video game Grand Theft Auto? Right? Of course, I definitely a player of Grand Theft Auto, right? Going back to the first one, right? Grand Theft Auto just had you there for hours and hours. Grand Theft Auto, don't just like Grand Theft Auto a little bit, but on the virtual side of things, true story, right? This is the future of entertainment for people who will get lost in this virtual world of whatever. Look at the land. Yeah, people already got spaces where they owning it. Look at that. See the guy here? He owned that little space right there. In the essentially in this aspect of the metaverse. That's his parcel. His parcel is geotagged and located. I was on a location, geolocation. It's on everything. It's got in the alley. See right now? So if they have anything in this space right here on this Vegas Strip aspect of this here, if this is Vegas Strip 1, he can advertise and have people pay him for advertisement in that little space digitally. He ain't got to upkeep no buildings, no water, no plumbing, no fire code inspection. He ain't got to do none of that. He just gonna sit back and let people buy stuff digitally, so because they want to be, man. Look, All right, let me move along. Right, the plazas, all this stuff, man. Look, y'all get it. All right, moving on. Right, I don't want to be here long because I know I am. Are y'all with me though? Y'all with me? Everybody with me? Right. Press one in the chat if you're keeping up with what I'm saying. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, press one in the chat. Right. I want to make sure everybody's following along because this is what I'm talking about when people ask me, man, these ships are already sell, man. Ain't no more investment opportunities out there. It ain't this and it ain't that. You hear that a lot, right? I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? There's still a ton of money still to be made. A ton of money to be made. Right? What's going on, family? Everything monetizable. Brother CG3 in the building. We see you guys coming in. Right? So this is how we're not going to miss out on these opportunities. Right? You got a couple dollars laying around again. Ain't doing $1 here, $2 here. I'm talking about dollars, like dollars, 50-cent stuff. Right? We got at least buy $1 worth in some cases. But this is $1. You're finna blow that anyway at Taco Bell. Get one of them little, horse meat tacos. Right? Shots fired. Shots fired. Right? Shots fired at Taco Bell. Right? Chiquero Taco Bell. Put that dollar on the mantle in the metaverse. Put that dollar, let it keep going. The dollar cost average. You might want to put yourself on what they call. I'm not saying buy that token. Again, this is not investment advice. I'm just saying the ideal if you was thinking about doing it, just how you would, make sense of it all, right? You may put yourself on a weekly plan. I'm $1 every week. I can afford at least $1 every week. Like some of you guys, give something else, some other little asset. More than majority of that don't even really give you a decent return on investment. So you could do $1 a week, right? That's 52 weeks out of a year. If nothing else, that's $52. God, that broke the bank. That broke you, didn't it? I know. You feel all messed up because you spent a whole $52 in investing in your particular idea of a future. I know you feel bad. You ain't gonna better get, live your life now because you spent $52 in investing. I get it. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? It's mentality, guys. You got to get your mind right first. Your mind got to get locked into the ideal of how this stuff gonna go. Why? Because I'm going to be the first one to tell you if anybody else told you. The way that the economy is going in terms of these central banks and the ideal of how the wealthy is starting to really exacerbate that wealth gap between those who have and those who have not, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Inflation is just a precursor for what's to come. Ideal of recessions ain't the old recession that used to happen back in the days. This is still more a thinning of the herd, where those people who are less I'm just call it less competent to want to deal with the ideal of how they got to get their financial game in play, they're going to be hurt. Because for far too long, people have been looking at a job as job security, right? Most people, I got a job, right? I got my little degree, I got a little job. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm straight. Guess what? All that stuff went up in smoke when the pandemic hit. Turned them on their heads. A lot of them were prepared. A lot of them was not prepared. See how that worked? Again, the system breathes off of chaos. That's how they get more control over the scenario, right? Of people, right? Inflation is just another, again, litmus test tool that is used to stress test the citizens in terms of what they can muster and what they cannot. How much you can afford to continuously keep living the lifestyle that you have with higher cost value than what you was doing before. And then when they find out that you can find a way to survive under that, guess what? Those prices rarely come down. Rarely do those prices come down. Gas may fluctuate here and there, but most grocery price stuff like that stuff rarely come down. Not at the level that you would think before. It's not going back to where it was before. I can guarantee you that. Because supply chains get smart, margin prices increase, margin value says, guess what? Let's raise it up an extra couple of nickels and quarters. Why? Because if we have another issue like this in the future, we want to be prepared for it. We don't have to be stuck holding the bag. We're going to pass it on to consumers. See how that works? So that's going to be the excuse. This is why we had to raise our prices, because we don't want another issue we just had recently with what? Inflation, stagflation. This is the excuse they use. You guys got to know this, right? You can't be bamboozled by these people going to come in front of y'all, especially with the primaries coming up and elections all again. No, we're going to get, prices down. We're going to, find jobs and create jobs for people. Like, seriously? If y'all ain't tired of hearing all that rhetoric right now, I don't know what to tell you. If you still being bamboozled by that rhetoric right now, I don't know what else to tell you. This is the real world, you guys. This is real out here in the field, as they say. So this is why it's important to realize that, okay, yeah, you need to start kind of planning, right? You're gonna have to start planning for what's, what's to come. And you're gonna have to have other means to be able to what? Get her done, right? Basically in terms of your survival value, right? Because we're not going back to the old. I'm sorry, that's how this stuff works, man. Now, there's certain things we're gonna have a value enormous. I'm not saying we just gonna go 0 to 60 and just, there's no kind of recourse of being able to kind of recompensate that scenario. But for the most part, again, corporations are about making profit. They're not about an ethical way of life to make every human existence have that level of luxury that they are getting as owners and operators of this, this scenario that they're producing as a product or service. If that's the case, everybody have a partnership, in the corporation of America. Your partnership only goes as far as your ability to pay taxes. That's as far as your corporation partnership in America goes. You pay tax, okay, well, you feed into the idea that, okay, at least we affording you, a red light here, a stop sign here, a bridge here, a little dirt road every now and then. We might can pave it here, and a little benefit here and there and then on the equity scheme on the healthcare side. But as far as look, so everything extra has to come from you being able to be ingenuity, innovative, smart, and figure out how to what? Increase your self-worth. And again, I don't care what people say. The only way you're going to do that if you become what? Owner operator of a business, entrepreneurship, or get into the asset ownership game. Again, unless you got a late uncle or auntie out there that you haven't discovered yet, that left you the Chateaubriand somewhere, right? You inherited something outside of that. That's the only way. All right. So that's why we go hard. We beat the drum about what? Getting this information now, get this knowledge, get it properly too. Don't just jump out the window with everybody trying to sell you something, right? If you can research it on your own, take it first you can, and then go out there, ask a million questions. Eventually somebody's going to answer it. That's persistence, right? That shows you that you want this, right? You shouldn't have to go deep into debt to figure out how to get out of debt and end up back in debt, right? That's not what this is about. That's why we come on and do what we can. We're just trying to add. We're trying to add value, not subtract from you, but add value to you. Because everything we're going to talk about is going to lead back to some kind of form of primary source where you can research it yourself. Therefore, it's just not just talking points where, okay, this is just somebody that, their verbose opinion about this. No, go research what we're talking about. Go pull up the sources. That's why we follow along sometimes with the different pages so you can see this stuff. All this stuff is happening outside of you being, in your own little world, inside your own little head. This stuff is moving a million miles an hour. And these people planning in advance right now. Right? They're planning in advance right now. While we're, caught up in, trivial things, lost in la la land, debating people about using things that ain't gonna move the needle in terms of they pay or they, well life or being, look, do whatever makes you feel good about being therapeutically, put together. But ultimately, they come back, put your big boy pants on, your big girl pants on. Let's figure out where to get this bread. Because they're planning to remove you from yours every day. Every day. Right? So again, we talk about 16 cents, 10 cents, 70 cents, $1. And people are like, man, that's a lot. Seriously? Like, dude, we just saw you going to so-and-so today. You just you just made it rain. So-and-so. But we ain't gonna call no name, but like it's mentality. People haven't got to that point, where they can start to see the value in that. Right? They're not equipped to think long-term quite yet. So it is a change of mentality. You have to get your mind right first. Got be a little bit more controlled in terms of how you value your money and wealth. So when money is moving, that's why things happen. So again, double back and real quick here. The idea of the inflation scenario here is just another extension of, again, the money printing. So real quick, what I want to do right here, right? I don't know if Chris is on right now or not. Let me share the link here. Well, I run this video first, and then I'll share the link again in case anybody want to come on, right? I want to blow through this first and get the commentary out. Then, if you want to have some people jump on, share what they see, what's going on, whatever, we're gonna do that too. Because we definitely open value, open forum over here, right? We open source, open forum over here, right? So really quick here, all right. So the idea of the inflation conversation is stoked in the idea that, of course, this latest grilling that came on the back end of again, Janet Yellen and all those guys. This is why this is why I was telling everybody, hey, you guys got to be, cautious here, because the markets are starting to, realize that, the punch bowl is probably about to get taken away, right? I mean, all this, print money, at least short term, to the extent where it's going to bring the market, down to a notable level where they can say, okay, it's time to take a little profit, right? And we at the end of the year. What happens at the end of the year? Tax loss harvesting, right? Where you realize any kind of gains, any kind of losses, you start to get that stuff, so you can write it off, right? So we finna go through that. People just taking profit at the top, right? The Fed chairs got a chance to take profit at the top for insider trading, couldn't make this stuff up. And then they didn't get a slap on the wrist. They got a chance to walk out to the sunset, didn't get prosecuted like they do the average person. Man, these people so corrupt and crooked, it make your head hurt, right? It will make your head hurt, literally. All right, let me cut my screen on here. All right, my brightness up, right, my contrast. So I want to jump in this. So our brother Wall Street, obviously, Chris Logic, y'all know him as, Chris Wood, but our brother Wall Street, I call him Wall Street Logic, right? Even though Chris Logic, Wall Street Logic, because he bring that logic, in terms of being able to make this stuff make sense at that level that a lot of us are used to hearing a lot of times, because we in different forms, different platforms. So we always trying to make this stuff applicable to everybody, right? Speak in a terminology that people can hear it from, right? This is just a video excerpt that he was able to put together based upon the latest testimony that came out of literally just last week, when again Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell just got grilled, right, by Congress, and notably so. We know that was going to happen because he just got renominated and got his seat protected. Of course, now he can kind of tell the truth. Right? Before, he just kept lying to the public, right, to a lot of people in Washington, so he can look like there's a need for him to stay in his seat to fix the problem that he caused himself, right, in terms of inflation, excessive money printing. That was all on his watch. He allowed it to happen with Trump and with Biden. And this was a way that he was trying to secure his job. Now that he got his job resecured because they reelected him again, now all of a sudden he's changing the guard a little bit. He's speaking from a place of, okay, look, guys, yeah, before I was just really thinking it was going to be this way, but now it's not. But he knew that all along. Why? Because y'all knew that all along. So how are these people supposed to be that intelligent in spaces like that? And now all of a sudden you can make better sense of the situation than they can. So why are they sitting in that seat then? I elect Sister Monica Lamb to be the federal chair. She'll do a better job than Jerome Powell. Facts. So this is the game that Hustle plays. So I want to play this little excerpt here. So again, we talk about the inflation side of things real quick. Then after that, we're going to hit the Omicron and we're going to get on off this thing, right? So this is, again, we're on the cusp of stagflation, period. Let me go and say that. We're on the cusp of stagflation. We're on the cusp, right? And again, if they don't get ahead of this, when I say at this point, they're already behind the curve. But if they don't really start doing something aggressively, it can get out of control even more. It can spiral out of control, right? So that's why we talk about the need that the inflation aspect. We know it's not transitory. We know they retired that word. He finally came out and admitted that transitory was the worst word he could use, basically, by trying to defend the excessive money print that they was doing, right? He retired that. He took that L. He still didn't come out and say it, but we know that he was outright lying. Call it what it is. Ain't no safe way to debunk a lie. It's either a lie or it's the truth. Simple as that. As we like to say, no such thing, no have pregnant women, right? Either she pregnant or she ain't, right? So they can't sit there and play that fiddle anymore, right? So the ideal, again, that inflation is not transitory, it's hurting people at the grocery store, at the gas pumps, at the lumber yards, at just being able to buy. It's becoming a major problem, and it can get wicked worse than it can get even better. Even if they just stop right away cold turkey, there's still the lingering effect. It's going to linger on, right, for at least 2 or 3 quarters, right? Basically, well into 2022, the summer 22, the fall of 22, there's still going to be the vestiges of inflation still around the government, and that's even if they do something drastic today. Excuse me, and try to change it. Excuse me, right? So again, we're not going to be confused about what's happening. That's why we try to break this stuff down where you guys can understand it. Right? Why the cost of goods and services are going up. It's not so much about no supply chain issues and bottlenecks. That's a lie. We know it's not that. We talked about this stuff last year, literally last year, that these are the excuses that we're going to hear, right? They're going to make this worse than it is because they're going to lay down on this money printer. They all excited because they got the ability to print all this money out of thin air. They think they're playing the role of God, quote unquote, right? And they're going to shoot themselves in the foot when it's all said and done. And it's only going to make the wealth gap worse between the wealthy and the middle class, or that of the poor class, because they know majority of people are not invested in markets like that. This stuff goes to the wealthy. Fun fact, there's only 11% of the retail market responsible for the stock market. 11% is only responsible for the stock market. And out of that 11%, I would say at least, shucks. For the most part, for those of us who are initiated in this, we're probably like the 70 to 80% of those who out there that's there is 70 to 80% of people who are sleepwalking, and y'all are like the 10 to 20% who are initiated in this. Everybody else may be passively investing through a 401k or Roth, but they're not active investors. Outside of that, they just straight have no clue what's going on. I mean, people out there is not invested. Like a lot of your family members, your peers, they have no clue about the stock market, the crypto market, Forex market, any of that. That's why I say that's why it's important that you get your game right, get your knowledge right, so you can go and help them responsibly, not just out there saying, go buy this, because I believe in this. Now, lead them to primary sources of data that they can research on their own, so they can feel good about their journey and learning this the proper way. Right? So, moving on. So, this is the excerpt. Again, the Texas senator, pretty much came out. I think the guy name is Taylor, right? There's a lot of people that beat up on Jerome Powell last week, and I just loved it. I was just sitting back eating vegan popcorn. I was just loving it. I said, yes, get him. Finally, get his behind. He's been elusive like a little slimy snake over the past 3 sessions, and he's been getting away with this lie and being over arrogant and confident and doubling down on this wasteful spending and printing money, and only doing helping his wealthy buddies. Now he couldn't wiggle out of it because it became apparent that most people doing just like I said they was going to do. They finna start calling up their local senators and congressmen and saying, hey, what is the problem with this inflation? What are y'all doing? Why y'all lying this guy? We keep hearing this guy, this Jerome Powell guy, doing all this money printing. Only people I see getting rich is Wall Street. Right? They start beating down these Congress. So they had to act. They had to get out there and say something to the effect to say, hey, man, these people are getting real antsy now. If not, they're gonna come for our heads in a minute if you don't stop all this printing money, basically. Right? Basically. Right? So again, the extent of how this stuff works, that's why it's important. So let's jump right into this real quick, right? Let's get into this to this build here, this excerpt that Chris put out again. I definitely want to brandish that so you guys can go subscribe to his channel, so you guys won't be confused and understand that hey, we're trying to build a village of people who are also excited about this too, so we can also help support one another, right? So definitely subscribe to his YouTube channel. You're gonna see his icon down there and everything as well, so that way we can again support people who trying to build and edify you, right? So let's jump right into it real quick. Right, one second. Let me cue this up here so we can watch it. And I ain't got to worry about a copyright strike because it's our brother stuff, and I'm making sure I brandish him, give him all the due respect and credit because he put this excerpt together. And again, if y'all want to watch the whole Senate stuff, y'all know to go to C-SPAN, go pull up their old articles, archive, and watch their whole entire thing. But this particular excerpt here that he pulled out was very potent. It was potent. It was to the point. It really put Jerome in his place where he couldn't run away or get those softball type questions that CNN or like CNBC, when they throw questions out to Jerome Powell, they're very timid. They're scared. They don't want to ruffle any feather. Why? Because they know stock market may be watching. They're scared the market going to drop. But guess what? This guy who was like, man, look, y'all before Congress now, we don't care about all that. People in my district are saying we got a problem with this guy printing all this money, and then it's making things worse for us. So look, go hit him, hit him across the head, basically, right? So that's basically what happened. So let's cue this up real quick here. All right, let's get this information here real quick. Where we at? Share screen. Again, excerpt that our brother Chris put out. Again, phenomenal piece of information here, and it's going to really, again, speak to that what we've been talking about in terms of this ideology that, again, these people know what they're doing. This is not a mistake. This is not an accident, and this is not what they call a trial and error perspective. This is them knowing what they're doing because the damage is already done once the money's been sent down range. See how that works? You can't pull this money back once it's been sent. See, it's easy to say it's my bad after the fact. Why? It's too late. The money's already been, sent down range. his friends and buddies and got wealthy. See how that work? You can't rescind that money once it's gone. So this is the game that Washington played because they know that. Main Street, yeah, they can come get your money back from IRS from late payments. See, they can come back and get that money. They can hit your bank account with an extra little bit of money by mistake and come back and get it later. See, it's not the same in the stock market because that money probably hit somebody's account. They took it out, re-diversified across other asset class. That money that moved 5-6 times since the first time it came off the printing press of the Fed. See how that work? That's why these are the most protected class of people in America is people who own assets. I repeat, they are the most protected class literally on the planet. Y'all gonna learn today, right? Y'all gonna get this work, right? Because y'all need to start, again, moving under the aspect of learning how to work, right? How to move and maneuver, right? So that way we won't be right here trying to play that, I didn't know game. All right, so let's jump right into it. So let's put that out there. All right, let me crank this volume up so y'all can hear this here. And let's roll some of that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bean footage. Courtesy of over Chris, right? You see out here, Chris Woods, his YouTube channel. Literally, before we get off this live stream, if he got 95 subscribers, right? That's sacrilege. He should be well over 1,000. Well over 1,000. So before we get off this live stream, guys, he need to be at least over 100. Come on, seriously. He needs to be over 100 subscribers, guys. Y'all know Chris. Y'all know he in our circles. Y'all know the deal, man. Let's get his subscriber count up, right? Guys out there putting in some work, all right? So let's go. Let me know if y'all can hear that clear as well.
Gentleman's program was expired. Okay, thank you. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Taylor, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. I'm sure you're familiar with Milton Friedman's treatise, Free to Choose. Yes. And this is an important, college textbook, I would think, on economics. And I would commend Chapter 9 to you, The Cure for Inflation. It is, I think it is, Mr. Friedman lays out some important premises of what creates inflation. And I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that the M2 money supply has gone up very dramatically. You're familiar with the Federal Reserve holdings and trillions of dollars of debt, the very dramatic increase on your balance sheet. I know you're aware of this because you were there. In the money in circulation. And this comports with, again, going back to Chapter 9 of Milton Friedman's book, and he goes in and talks about the inflation that took place in the 1970s, and he has a series of charts showing the supply of money. So here's the United States, and he goes on and shows the supply of money in Germany and Japan, and the increase in prices, and then also the United Kingdom and Brazil. And so all of this is going to a very central point that when you increase money, and actually let me quote Mr. Friedman here for a second. When the quantity of money increases more rapidly than the quantity of goods and services available for purchase, we have inflation. You have printed too much money, sir, and that money has created inflation.
That part.
To stop the inflation, I would recommend to you to stop printing the money. You indicated yesterday that you're going to start to slow down the printing money. I think you should stop it, and stop it right now. Inflation is on the minds of Americans. Poll after poll for the last many months, 70, 80% of Americans, it's a top issue for them. They're concerned about inflation. Inflation is eating away their purchasing power. It is actually robbing them of the increases in wages that we've seen because their purchasing power is down because of the inflation that's created by the money that's being printed. Would you like to respond to that?
Sure. So price stability is one of our two goals, the other being maximum employment. We have to balance those two goals when they're in tension as they are right now. But I assure you, we will use our tools to make sure that this high inflation we're experiencing does not become entrenched. If I may also add, though, the connection between monetary aggregates and either growth or inflation was very strong for a long, long time, which ended about 40 years ago. So the so-called velocity of money became quite variable. And so now we think more of just the imbalances between supply and demand in the real economy rather than monetary aggregates. which isn't to say that that was wrong when written. I think it was probably correct when it was written, but it's been a different economy and a different financial system for some time. Nonetheless, your point on inflation, well taken.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I just, Secretary Yellen, don't you think that the deficit spending that this administration on an unparalleled level, right? I mean, the $2 trillion in deficit spending in February, dumping money into the economy, has created the inflation that we see today.
Well, the Build Back Better plan that's under consideration now is paid for.
Okay, but the $2 trillion in February, was that paid for?
The rescue plan was not paid for.
Okay, so that's $2 trillion in deficit spending.
There was a very good reason to pass that. We faced a major risk in terms of seeing our workforce, particularly the most vulnerable members of the American society, scarred permanently, losing homes, being unable to put food on their tables, take care of their children, and being permanently financially harmed, as well as there was a shortage of demand in the economy that could have resulted in long-lasting joblessness and high unemployment. And the plan that was enacted into law was focused on dealing with that, and it's been successful.
Did it create
But
inflation?
it
Did $2 trillion of deficit spending create inflation?
It did boost demand, and that is one of several factors that are involved in inflation. But we, absent the pandemic and the supply chain problems we've had and the negative impact the pandemic has
Secretary
had on
Yellen,
the supply of labor.
what's interesting
wouldn't be-
Secretary Yellen, if I could just to finish here, what's interesting is that Milton Friedman wrote in 1979, no government is willing to accept responsibility for producing inflation. And you, ma'am, have just embodied that denial because your spending, your deficit spending is creating the inflation that the Americans need relief from now. I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Drops bomb, right? Say drops bomb roll credit, right? Drops bomb roll credit, right? Drops bomb roll credits. See that part, right? That part, right? Again, these people are not moving under the understanding that they realize that of what each individual, quote unquote American or citizen is up against. Their macro data never supports the ideal of the little man on the ground. Right? They're compiling all this data saying they're data dependent, yada this, yada that. But ultimately, that data is not, it doesn't suffice for what's really going on in terms of what people are really dealing with. Make sense? So again, it's always this, well, see, we were just trying to pay attention to, the labor statistics based upon this, based upon that, the CPI data, the PPI data, but we know that stuff really never reflects what's really going on with the average American. Hence this ideology, this idea, right? The ideological aspect that they feel like Main Street is supposed to be the predictor of what your economy is supposed to look like, meaning how well employed they are, how much they have in their savings and all this, that, and the third. Well, that used to be the old America, right? This is, pre-World War I, pre-World War II, maybe a little after that, right? Coming into the 60s a little bit. But something happened after we moved off the gold standard in terms of the monetary system and moved into this new fiat, printer, press, Fed, all this power and control. That stat began to change. Then it became a thing where it was behind closed doors. Washington and the likes of those who invest in American markets from overseas realized that the strength of the American economy is based upon the value of its stock market. And it can be that much more evident when under the Paul Volcker rule. Y'all remember about Paul Volcker, right? And this is going back to Milton Friedman because he pulled an excerpt from Milton Friedman's book concerning that. See, these were the old inflationary hawks back in the days that got in control and said, you know what? These people put me here to fix a problem that y'all, wild beast savage people who are greedy was causing and really making it bad for the Main Street people. We're here to fix this. So they came from a very ethical approach to saying, hey, this is going to affect my children down the road. They started thinking about their future generation, and they did what grown-ups supposed to do. These people today, you think they worry about your kids? These people worry about their pockets. These guys on the way to the grave. And I hate to say it in that perspective, but at some point, they're close. And they're trying to stack all the cash that they can before they hit that, the upper room, right? Moving life, the upper room, right? Some of them probably gonna make it to the upper room though, right? If you believe in all that, right? This is the reality. They're gonna take that the economy is based upon, again, the strength of the main street force that builds up the mom and pop spots, the average everyday work at the factory. These people make up the value of what our economy looks like. That is a lie. It was not a mistake why Trump was rallying hard behind him being the president of the stock market. It's the reason why Biden took a playbook out of President Trump. He may not be going there saying the stock market, but every time the stock market gets weak and start to feel like it's going to pull back and crash, what do y'all see? Incoming press coming from Joe Biden. And in his scenario, he's so weak, right? Because y'all know I go in on all of them because I'm not affiliated with none of these gangs, political gang members. He's so weak, he don't even take questions. At least sometimes Trump was standing in the fire and take questions, right? From a lot of his hot button topic and statements, Biden don't even take questions. Why? Because y'all know he barely can hold on to any kind of conversation longer than 20 minutes without stumbling, fumbling, bumbling, feeling like he incoherent, like he about to, I don't know, have a life alert moment. No pun intended, but seriously, he's struggling, right? He's struggling. So he's not even taking questions. He's just coming out there like, I'm the Lord, Marxist Almighty, saying, hey, take the jab or else. This or else. Or because of this or else. That's not how you govern. Right? That's not how you govern. Right? So again, this is what makes this stuff even more sinister because you have to sit here and live through this. These people got your job hanging on by a jab. If you don't get the jab, you can lose your livelihood. The ability to pay your bills, to feed your kids, to send them out to school, this, that, third, all behind the jab. Why are they so ecstatic about you getting this jab? Don't tell me it's about the virus and that alone in terms of the value of the virulent nature of it. Because look, seriously, the data that already came out, because we've been on this stuff since last year. We was already on top of all the top vaccine makers, the efficacy levels. We hit all that stuff. And we've been up to this point. We know the players are. And per their word, CDC, WHO, and FDA, and anybody else, NIH, all these guys, they are already understanding like everybody else. It's just a transmissible aspect of efficacy. That's it. And at most, sometimes it can stop the value of death. Outside of that, you just as much of a carrier with the vaccine or the jab than if you didn't have it. So natural immunity, it does have a place in this conversation. And they keep omitting that part of the conversation once they begin to talk about it on the health side. That there are studies that saying that people do have a value to fight with under that too. So I'm just saying both sides. Again, I'm not for or against. Y'all know my stance on this, but I'm always going to come right down the middle. Why? Because people going to always try to echo chamber you into their ideology over the others. Why? Because everybody feel like they got a dog to fight when there's a big consensus behind you saying, no, this is the side you need to be on. That's not how life works. Things change. Data changes. Things are variable for nature. It's the reason why this thing keep mutating. This ain't because everybody ain't got the jab. It's just this thing got out of control from the beginning anyway because they politicized it, didn't get in front of it where they needed to. And because of that, everybody backpedaling now. And they trying to find a side to blame or pick side on. Couldn't make this stuff up. So yeah, Omicron is here. Right? Omicron, whatever. I'm right. Omicron is here. And it's just another extension of the South African strain. But they said it's more off the back end of probably Delta. A substrate of probably maybe Delta and the old South African strain that over time it began to kind of grow different protein spikes on it that cause it to be a little bit more evasive of some of the jabs that are out there. Now, as of now, they're saying that it's less not virulent. It's more contagious in terms of you catching it. It's easy to be transmitted, but it's not as severe as terms of the symptoms. Right? Of course, this is all fair use act information. This is not me standing pro or against any kind of aspect of the jab. I'm just speaking based on the data as an investor here, right? So when I look at the assets like Moderna, Pfizer, right, AstraZeneca, BioNTech, right, Novavax, and all the likes thereof, they're all caught in the middle trying to figure out, how we're going to deal with this. Why? Because number one, they know that this is a cash grab too. Again, these are for-profit companies. Stop playing. If they're really caring about eradicating this, guess what? All of them will actually merge together like Voltron, right? They will all merge together like Voltron with the help of the WHO, the NIH, the FDA, the CDC, and all the other health organizations around the world, right? The New England Journal of Medicine, the Lancet over there in England, the Chinese Authority of Ministry of Health, and everybody else will merge together like Voltron. They best of the best will come together, and they will all be in one building, one room, and figuring out how to deal with this stuff all together. The fact that they're not doing that, tells you everything. But African Pro, this thing gonna cost money, man. Somebody got to pay for this. Dude, they just printed how much money last year? Well over $6 to $7 trillion. That's just our central banker. That's just our central banker. That's not including Mario and Draghi before he left, the central banker, ECB over there in Europe. Now Christine Lagarde got that position. That's not talking about Kuroda over there in Japan. He wicked with the print in his country and over in Japan. That's not counting any of these other central bankers around the world that's a part of this union aspect of central bankers that would print money also. And again, Canada was printing money. Everybody printing money. So again, miss me with all that. Okay, that's them. No, I follow this. I follow the data. So if they were really concerned, they would have all came together again like Voltron and put their best scientists together came up with something, and foot that bill based upon the value of your tax dollars, what you pay them for, right, inside your own little countries, and they would have came up with something to kind of backstop this. The reason that they didn't tell you everything, they let the for-profit companies come forward. They put them under the same clause that they always been protected under, right? The jab clause that says that they cannot be sued for any, ill will or harm or whatever that may come on the back end of you taking this jab. This experimental jab, because that's what it was under emergency use authorization, that it was experimental jab, and you were subjected to anything that may come from it. See, people don't want to deal with that. They just want to say, no, my side says this, you wrong because of that. That's not how this stuff works. Whether you're for or you're against, you have to be, cognizant of your life, your health, your children's health going forward, regardless of the situation. And you got to be willing to live with it. And can't nobody tell you if you're doing it wrong or doing it right, because that's still your autonomous value to make that decision. You still have autonomous value over your health, even though it don't feel like sometimes they got all the control over you, but technically you still supposed to have control of that. Under the HIPAA Act, I ain't making this stuff up. Under the HIPAA Act, it still says that you're supposed to have 100% autonomous value over your body. Only in what they call the most worst case scenarios where your government kind of pull record, you almost like the Deferment Act, right? And do some, or Defense Act, I should say, and do some crazy so-called, I guess, kind of protect the citizens of the country. But seriously, at the end of the day, look, y'all get it. So yes, you would think, okay, this is good now because these players get a chance to get a rebound, right? They get a chance to now, bounce again, right? Because there's a need for them to come up with a different variant, serum to stop this right? The Omicron, right? All this stuff, right? Look, really quick, right? I'm finna blow through this, right? Because we're on the Omicron section of this conversation here real quick. Then I'm gonna run all the way back to the very first thing that you see on my description box because I'm gonna do that last, actually. Right? This is the prequel, right? All right. So let's do this here. All right, really quick. I'm just gonna show you this, right? Because I'm only gonna use this for the use case of the conversation based upon what we're dealing with in terms of the new Omicron and the jabs that are out there trying to formulate something to get around it. See right here, right? This little shooting star right here, evening star, whatever you want to call it, back on the 29th of November. Right? When we got word of the Omicron, I keep on saying Omicron, the Omicron, whatever. That was in around this time frame here, right? What's going on, friend? Dr. Stingham? Dr. Stingham in the building. Peace, power, profit to you, Dr. Stingham, right? One of the old school warriors come out of the Discord, Twitter side of the house. Happy to have him in the building, right? Wealth of knowledge himself. Shout out to you, Dr. Stingham in the house, right? What's going on, family? Pray unceasingly. I see you in the building. Peace, power, profit to you as well, right? So again, really quick here, guys. I got to touch on this point. Seriously, I'm serious. We all knew before this, Moderna stock as a whole was pulling back, right? No secret, right? We saw what happened when they came with the latest earnings report. They already start guiding lower, right? The guidance was that, again, we kind of hit our peak value of revenue at this point until there's another surge, right? Because we know at this point they're only as good as the need for them to continue to keep, having to kind of upgrade the serums in terms of the jab serum, or right, there's a push for some other, so-called, underprivileged country. They call them third world country, but an underprivileged country where they can now start to kind of get some of their, their jabs into their, their pipeline to get it out there to the general public, right? Because there's a big problem with that in terms of shortages of the jab and all this stuff and whatever. We got to take care of everybody else first. So that's another way they can kind of charge these other, subsequent governments, for them having that jab on the, in their countries, right? Because America wasn't going to foot the bill for everybody else. Apparently, they said it was to a degree. Some people they're going to help. Others, we know that's going to come from a concerted effort around the world globally or their own economies, right? Anyway, these companies like Moderna sat on the recipe to help countries in Africa, in South America, in southern parts of India, right? So some of these kind of unfortunate, countries, right, and scenarios, right? They sat on the recipe and did not share that recipe, or they could have easily licensed it out, but they sat on it. So these other countries had to go without having the ability to vaccinate their people by the value of these people saying they're trying to protect their what, right? They're trying to protect their what? Proof of work, right? They're the privilege of them, coming up this, but that's the point of licensing it. That's the whole point of the ideal of that. If there was concerned about stopping the whole flow of this thing, then guess what? The UN and the likes thereof would have been on top of that, right? The World Health Organization, in terms of making sure everybody kind of have that same level of the deal with a pandemic of this magnitude, they would have been on top of this, right? They would have been on top of this, guys, but they didn't care about that. These people like, look, bro, we finna get paid, right? So there's no ethics in getting the bag when it comes to this. So don't be confused and bamboozled because you like one side over the other. Again, don't get caught in the East Coast, West Coast game banging with this. That's not how life works. It's not how life works in this, right? Because again, we know that they're all failing in that perspective. So again, it started bottoming out. Right when Moderna was literally about to fall through the floor here, in come the Omicron. Now, whether it was already out or not, which they already saying that it was already out at that point, it just was not getting publicized at the point before South Africa really began to kind of ring the bell on it. Now, who knew? Somebody could have been like, hey, bro, go and push this thing to the forefront because we think it might be an issue, whether they had interior motives or they didn't. Either way you look at it, Moderna stock was getting ready to crash through 200 after going up here near 500, right? And the need that they were still sitting on their recipe and didn't want to share it with countries in Africa and many others, maybe that was an ultimatum. Well, guess what? Maybe you need to pump this little virus that y'all dealing with over there. Then maybe, I don't know. That's speculative there. Just when I say that, that's speculative. I'm not making any insinuations there. I'm just using that for a speculative conversation, right? The intellectual property, right, Brother Rich B. So this is the reality. And now all of a sudden, Moderna got a new lease on life, up from 226 all the way back up to what, 373. Now I can say that honestly because why? I'm an investor in Moderna. Y'all know we was in Moderna way back in what, the 30s, the 50s, and the 60s areas. That's when we was hitting Moderna because we was on it last year when it became known that this was going to be one of the companies that was going to benefit from this, right? So we was all on top of that, right? We were trading a little bit down in the 20s and the 17s area. That's what's crazy about it. But when it really took off, it was just like, this thing just took off. So as an investor of it that still got some shares in it, I'm still, from a place where I can come from and ethically, they were trying to save face. Now they do got a what they call a multiverse, I'm calling that a multiverse, jab coming out that everybody waiting on, but we know that thing wasn't going to be ready for until next year or not, maybe 2023, right? So until then, Moderna was going to have to try to find a way to tread water to save face to kind of protect the shareholders that have been buying it up here. They got caught into this big pump because at that point it was just a big old pump. Anything outside of this area here around about 150, 100, even around near 200, right? That's still rich. But anything below this area here, the chopper zone area here, was very richly premium of that of what Moderna what it went to in terms of the price went up here near 500. I can say that honestly. Let's be honest. That's how this stuff works, right? At some point, hey, you can't, look, gravity has to have its place, right? So lo and behold, it bounced off that low, got back up here, that 360, now it's trading back up here above 300. Okay. The CEO came out literally, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and pretty much let it be known that, okay, yeah, although Washington, the CDC, the FDA, and the NIH, and those guys with Dr. Fauci and all, they were saying what? As of now, it doesn't seem to be that much severe as, the Delta, whatever. Not overlooking the fact that it's still more virulent, meaning it's highly more contagious, because obviously it is. That's what the mutation does. It evades that of what's already out there trying to backstop it, and it finds ways to kind of survive. That's what viruses do. Viruses live their entire existence trying to survive. That's all they have the mandate to do, to survive. So of course, when they mutate, that's another extent to them, evading things out there, just trying to swat them like a fly swatter, right? So obviously they get stronger at learning how to be, either less detectable or, being able to kind of be, eradicated in the point where, be it that of a vaccine, which they ain't done out there to do that anyway, but they become more easy to spread, essentially, right? They become easier to spread, right? That's me kind of paraphrasing the idea there, right? All right. So, but that's what we're dealing with in terms of the Omicron as a whole, right? So now, when Dr. Fauci said that, everybody was like, maybe, right? The market was still kind of like iffy. CDC guy came out, people from that branch came out and said, talked about it, maybe, and if the market was like, maybe. But when the CEO, right, the CEO of Moderna came out and said himself, right, that this thing is a little bit more enigmatic than we planned, that we thought it was. Oh, the market pitched the fit. It pitched the whole fit, right? Now, it took a publicly traded company CEO to somewhat ring the alarm on the extent of what this thing was all about. Because these are the people supposed to be backstopping it by what? By way of what? A jab, right? Or their particular recipe of the jab is supposed to stop all this, right? But the market sat and waited for I guess maybe him to say it over somebody else, maybe, I don't know. But make that make sense. Like, who are we, who are we subjected to here? Right? Who are we subjected to here? Is it the CEOs of the company that's for profit, or is it the so-called health organization people that we're supposed to be kind of listening to, quote unquote? Right? So really quick here, I'm gonna jump over real quick, then we're gonna get ready to wind down here shortly. Again, thank y'all for being patient. Thank y'all for tuning in. Again, I'm not trying to tell y'all to blah blah blah. I'm just trying to share some information here, right? So look right here. This what caused the market to really get skittish, right? We already know the market was trading water the other day. It was on its way to kind of acting like it want to kind of implode on itself, whatever. And then because everybody was getting mixed signals about this Omicron, whatever. But the CEO, right, of Moderna came out and told everybody, look, this is not going to be good. That's all. That's why they got adding what? Quotes. Well, quote unquote, this is not going to be good. That's all the market needed to hear. And it really began to pick up speed to the downside. On top of other stuff that was going on too with Fed stuff and all that. But that's all they need to hear from the guy that's making the money off this. They wait to get his word before they took what, the extent of what they want to kind of accept as truth or not true. They waited on somebody like that to say something, and not your World Health Organization, people that's been in a position to tell you about, what you need to be worried about in terms of your health and concerns, stuff like that. This tells you the extent of how disconnected people are from the reality of proper information, proper, care and concern about your health and overall well-being. And it's done through the idea of a private, publicly traded company being somewhat the archetype for you to get all your news from. Why? Because people move with their money and not with their, their intellect and value in terms of being able to make ethical decisions for everybody to kind of be comfortable. And like, no, well, if this going to affect the money, I'm dealing with in terms of this stock and like that, then yeah, whatever. And it's just emotional. It's just emotional reaction to a lot of stuff anyway. But nonetheless, this is what we're dealing with. So Moderna CEO and what scientists are telling him about the Omicron virus, the Omicron coronavirus variant, right? So we already know Stephen Bassell is a man. He's a Stefan. They call him Stefan, right? Because Stephen, but he's a class act kind of guy, right? A funny guy. Every time the stock rises, he sells tons of shares. He's just making tons of money off the shareholders and this news dealing with this virus. He just cashing out. Every time the stock spikes, he cashes out. So either he don't believe in that state that this company going to be able to be around for a long time and really get ahead of itself in terms of the growth of his company, like Elon Musk. And every time the stock rises, he sells, which is leaves a bad taste in investors' mouth, but shows you that he's into this basically for the profit. He's that gung-ho with trying to be a billionaire, probably in his mind, that he's just cashing out stock every time the stock rises. Again, y'all know how the stuff works in the investment world. That's a sign that they're not believing in the company to a degree. If these not what they call scheduled sales, this is just them trying to take profit in terms of them feeling like this game of musical chairs may come to an end and they might not have a chance to sell at this high price again. Facts. Stephen Bassell, right? Stefan, whatever, right? Has left no doubt whether he's taking a glass half full or half empty approach to the emergence of the new Omicron coronavirus variant. He told the Financial Times, right? He's talking to the Financial Times. Seriously? It didn't say the CDC. It didn't say the FDA. It didn't say the NIHA, whatever. It didn't say any kind of health organization who has a neutral position of trying to figure out how to make this, world a little bit more healthier dealing with this pandemic. He told the Financial Times, right, there's no world where current vaccines are as effective as they have been against the Delta variant. And he suggested the drop-off could be significant. Right? I think it's going to be a material drop. I just don't know how much because we need to wait for the data, right? But all the scientists I've talked to are like, this is not going to be good. I mean, they talk about the Omicron, right? The Omicron, in terms of its efficacy, the efficacy pushed by the jabs to combat this new virus. Now, everything you've been hearing from Dr. Fauci and everybody else been saying, as of now, it's all we got. Just keep getting a jab, get a booster, right? Of course, we knew that was all by design. Get these boosters going so you can get it pretty much like every, like a flu shot, right? Like every year you got to get a booster, all right, to deal with these SARS-CoV-2 cocktails of, viruses, right? And their mutation, get a booster shot, right? Which obviously supports that of the vaccine makers, right? The manufacturers, because they got to keep serums on deck. They got to keep these serums on deck to keep pumping these booster shots out, right? Which in turn, they continuously make profit on the long run because at some point, they're going to stop being government subsidized and you're going to have to pay the full price for these jabs if you don't have insurance, because now the rest of it's going to be ported over to the insurance side of the house and you're going to have to pay through your copay for your booster regimen. Not making this stuff up, guys. Y'all know this already going that way. Stop playing if you think it's different. Stop playing, right? So here's the deal. The interview put another scare in the financial markets. The futures on the Dow Industrials, right? The YMO basically 0.002 at the point, contract losing more than lost over 500 points. The market dived off his press conference. 500 points in the Dow. Again, he's speaking to the stock market, not the WHO, any of those guys. He's speaking to the stock market, which inadvertently, if it's going to hurt the stock market, it's going to help his stock. Why? Because they're going to say, well, this is why you exist, right? Formulate a better vaccine for this. We're giving you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, Moderna stock went up, everybody else went down in that moment. See how that worked? The major vaccine makers have offered timelines of 2 to 6 weeks, right, for assessing its vaccine evading capabilities, right? And in the meantime, travel shutdowns, behavior modification are at risk as we wait, right? The anecdotal, right? And statistical evidence of the spread of the virus and its virulence, right? Said Sting Jacobson, right? Chief Investment Officer of Saxo Bank. Y'all see some synonymous, y'all see this parallel in terms of people making these talking points. Now, we know this is a financial website publication, granted, but this is the importance of world health as a whole. These people are talking to investment bankers and people like that. They're not talking to your local county health minister or whatever. They talking to financial people. How is this going to affect their money? Not your livelihood, but your money. Their money, excuse me. Couldn't make this stuff up. Bruh. Right? Moderna had previously announced that the data on the ability of its vaccine to neutralize the Omicron variant would be expected within weeks as it works to rapidly advance a booster candidate specifically against the variant. So up until that time comes, right? This week, 2 weeks, first weekend, they said the first month of next year, basically, they're talking about around January, February of next year, is when they'll get more information whether or not they have a neutralizing, serum to deal with the Omicron. Right, Omicron. I keep on saying Omicron. So until then, what y'all think Moderna stock gonna do? It's gonna dive a little bit and go up to the same breath, but they're gonna try to be up more than going down. I guarantee you that. Why? Because people are gonna be starting to trade or bet on the idea that Moderna or Pfizer, whomever, may come up with something to backstop against the nature of the Omicron. As we move through the rest of the holiday season, people are already out and about, spreading the viruses. We already knew that this was going to be a worst time of the year because we know that when people get out and about, even with the idea of the Delta variant, it was still out there kicking everybody in the teeth. This is a time when you're going to have a spike in cases, right? Obviously, because people are out moving around, mingling. It's cold. People are going to be indoors, and they're going to be breathing all over each other, drinking liquor, doing their drugs, and spreading the virus. They get more useless, more careless, and this is the reality of that. Right, the pathology is not hard to kind of realize at this point. We realized it as last year. People were antsy back then. You think they even more, feel like they Teflon done out because they got them little jabs that ain't really even. All right, I'll leave that alone because Joker's finna come at me now. They got them little jabs and they still ain't being really, really, taken care of. I just say that, right? Because guess what? Here's how you know it to be true, and I gotta leave it at this because I gotta keep it 100. If most of the people who ain't got the jab yet can't even leave out their country because they don't have that stamp on their passport or their little, jab papers with them, their clearance papers, well, how is this new virus spreading? How is the new virus jumping from country to country if the people that ain't got the jab can't leave their countries? How is this thing jumping around from country to country? I'll wait. And then the flip side argument to that would be, well, it's the people that ain't got the jabs inside the country are the ones spreading this mutation, and they're giving it to people who already got the jab, and because of that, they're leaving because they got the privilege to leave, and they're spreading it like that. That's how. See? Somebody make that make sense to me. That's why I said you can't be pro one side or the other. You got to stay somewhere neutral until you figure out how to better protect you and your family in this, because everybody got an agenda in this. Everybody got an agenda. It's sad because they putting dollars over your health, and y'all ain't seeing that yet. You highly mistaken. You better learn how to invest in the market then and stop playing, because these people care about profits. They don't care about your. All right, man, look. All right, play with it if you want then. Jump on out there. You can get 1 million jabs, 1 million boosters, and you still susceptible to catch the Delta, the Omicron, the new, the other one, the other one that's coming, everything that came in. Look, you can catch all that and then some still. And there's some other studies I read recently saying it's some of it, man. All right, let me leave that alone. Right, I gotta wait because that's the whole part about my new conversation I need to have concerning the other news I got to share with y'all. Right, I just leave it at that. Right, there's the article right there. Go read it for yourself. Right. Matter of fact, let me post it over here on the YouTube side. Again, I'm just saying, guys, you got to be careful, man. You got to be careful. Right. Just be careful. Right. Don't become emotionally invested into these scenarios, man, these articles and all this, that, and the third. And man, these people got an agenda, right? Everybody got an agenda, seem like. And whether you for or you against, you got to be conscious of that, guys. You just got to, right? Because again, if it was all a concerted effort to stop this the way you think they should, then guess what? You know, people will be more protected. They would go out their way to make sure that it's universal. It's not a universal concerted effort to really stop it, because everybody will team together again like Voltron and try to fix it. Maybe I'm being naive in my perspective of that. But again, as a person who's been in the service, the armed service, I know how this stuff work a little bit to the degree of the logistics and what they try to do to backstop certain things. Because look, it's not rocket science. It really isn't. Right? So whatever. Right? As I look at it, I'm like, whatever. All right, they did talking. And they did talking. Right? They did talking. All right. So anyway, really quick. So let me move on, brother. So that moves me to my next and my last topic of the day. And again, thank y'all for those who've been able to tune in this long. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for sharing information inside your back chats and in your own little conversations too. Again, because we have to talk about stuff in a way that it matters and not just get caught up in, again, East Coast, West Coast reality. I keep saying it because again, I know how people are. Sometimes people like to go to polarization aspects of things. They got to be one or the other, right? They have to be diametric opposites in their conversation. There can't be no even discourse or conversation on a neutral ground, because they feel like they're being slighted in terms of their intelligence, right? Which is wrong way to look at it anyway, because that's the whole part of, a natural or neutral conversation, right? Imano. It has to be exchange of conversation. One side can't dominate the other, right? Call it a civil debate. Call it whatever you want to call it. I call it you having to have the ability to really just conversate about it. So you got to get stuff out, right? Where you can, hear all sides. If one side is trying to deafen the other side, then is that a conversation or is that a dictatorship? Where everything we getting out of the, somewhat, the system is somewhat feeling like a dictatorship in a lot of ways, is it not? Can't go to work unless you get this. Can't do this unless you have that. You can't leave the country if you ain't got that. And yet everybody is still susceptible to what? Spreading it. Omicron didn't come from people that couldn't leave because they couldn't leave. And it's been spread by who? Okay, so again, neutrality here. Stay neutral as much as you can. Be the warrior scientists we all are in our own right, whether you for or you against, but also realize that, look, you're getting conflicting information like everybody else is. No matter how much you can pinpoint accuracy some certain down, you still getting conflicting information. Again, that's the CEO of Moderna talking to a financial investment banker saying, hey, this is the deal with this. So guess what? The stock finna get we finna get a chance. We finna eat off this. This ain't got to do no ethics. We finna eat off this. Right? We finna eat off this. These people trying to pad their pockets. All right. Man, you know what I'm saying? I got to be conscious of this. So again, this brain, somebody asked me about my shirt, or it says, I'm strong because a strong woman raised me, right? I'm strong because a strong woman raised me. I just went and seen that strong woman too for the holidays, right? Even though y'all know I ain't a big fan of all these holidays and all that stuff. I look at it for the way it's a family time to meet, be with my family. Because I rarely do that kind of stuff. I'm in there under the mindset like, hey, I'm gonna give y'all some history on this day of nothing else. So I broke down the history. I said, this is the 400, this is the quadcentennial of the holiday Thanksgiving as a holiday, right? 400 years ago, it was dubbed a holiday. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. True story though, but this was the 400th anniversary of the Thanksgiving celebration or the massacre. That's what it was, right? Let's call it what it is. It was a massacre, right? They came up with it. They invited them, the TP people, right? And the TP people came up in there, and then guess what happened? They slaughtered a lot of them. Right, they slaughtered a lot of them. Right, so yeah, okay, y'all thankful for whatever. Moving on, right? Because I know some joker finna come for me now for real. Cause like, man, don't be stepping on my little day, man. All right, man, y'all know how it is with me, man. Y'all not affiliated with none of this stuff. I'm independent. I'm trying to rule my house, my castle, my existence the way I can, so I can feel like I'm in charge of at least something and not give everybody everybody a piece of me, right? Like I have no control. Moving on, but that's just the facts though. 400 years. This was the 400th year, the quadcentennial of the Thanksgiving holiday, right? So yeah, y'all might want to go look that up and see, and that's why a lot of jokers were trying to. I don't know. Moving on. So my last point, which reverts back to the very first thing that you see in the description on my YouTube channel, right? So what's going on, brother Snotball? So you late now? You on time, family? Because you can always go back and watch it later. I know you're busy too, like everybody. So we appreciate you when you do come. And again, y'all know I am. We neutral over here with a lot of stuff, and we like to keep it that way. And we like to kind of move from a place where we can be good thinkers, and again, purveyors of information in a way where we provoke thought, invoke thought, and not try to dictate thought, right? That's what we're not going to do over here. We're not going to dictate thought, right? Because there's a lot of information still out there, a lot of variables. So again, for or against, let's just come down the middle and say, how can we better protect ourselves and also try to gain a financial value off it? Because guess what? Somebody going to do it. Somebody going to make some money off this, right? They already planning for it. Hate, like, love it, indifferent to it. Somebody going to make some money off this. So that's why I got down in the description box also, Omicron, homie, lover, friend, per the CDC, FDA, WHO, right? Taking the playbook out of R. Kelly. Homie, lover, friend. I don't know if they like it or what, because apparently this gives them something to kind of keep railing on the fact that this is why you need to do this, do that. So maybe there's a homie, lover, friend to them. I don't know. Hey, that's how I'm starting to think about it, at least, because it only seems to catch attention when something like this, in the nature. All right. So last part, real quick. Last part, then I'm out of here, guys. I'm out of here. The last part. See right here? All right, let's go over here to the YouTube page. This part right here. All right, let me take me off the screen there. See right here? So we talked about the crypto crash. We talked about inflation, right? We talked a little bit about Omicron. And the last part is what? Free speech. Right? Last part is free speech. What do I mean free speech? Well, it's just that. A lot of people who've been getting tore up on YouTube, having their page demonetized, taken down. It's bad out here, right? Twitter page is taken down, Facebook taken down, because they may come at it a more, direct approach to their conversation about this stuff. Of course, we're investors over here, and we use 1976, freedom of speech for a reason, because this is an investment conversation and entertainment and education that we're doing on here. This is not us picking a side. We're neutral because we're trying to figure out how to better invest in our future and also be well informed about what's going on out there. This is geopolitical news that we all need to be aware of, right? But it's sad because you got to somewhat premise that scenario before you even kind of get into your conversation, because people out there willing to set you down. It's people out there willing to report your channel. There are watchdogs out there who are paid to go out there and find people talk about this stuff to try to find a way to get their channel shut down. They are actually going after people. It's that bad. That bad. That's why I say this echo chamber stuff is that bad. So again, I keep telling people January 6th was not a fluke. January 6th was not a fluke. That raid on Washington was not a fluke. It was not a one-off event either. So again, if everybody caught in the middle, you just try to figure out, hey, what's the deal? So free speech, right? Now, doing a circle from free speech back to the very first thing you see in my description box, that says what? New platform alert, right? New platform alert. Oh, brother. So what you saying? You got another YouTube channel, right? You got a backup YouTube channel? Well, I already got, a couple of them, right? But more importantly, I went the route of a whole new different page as well outside of YouTube. And some of you guys probably already know where I'm going with this, because I've been posting about it on my my Facebook page, and I think I might have posted a little bit on Twitter about it. I could be wrong, but I know I posted it on my Facebook. And this is actually, pertaining to an investment. So that way, it's all within the, the grand scheme of things. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna post the start, then I'm gonna post the information about it, then I'm gonna get on to it, then I'm gonna get off here. right? So I'm gonna post the stock first, right? Let me come over here, right? Let me put this thing in some kind of level of perspective here, so we can talk about it. All right, all right. So we can talk about it. All right. So let me do this here. Hold up, big swole up. Let me do this here. Let me do regular trading. All right. Nah, matter of fact, let's do it this way. I'm bad. Bear with me, guys. Bear with your brother. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. All right, here we go. All right, we'll do it from this perspective right here. All right, let me do this here so we can get on off here. Again, like, share, subscribe if you're new, right? Smash all that stuff they be saying. Right, I'm not used to saying all that stuff because I just come on and go to work, man. I care about it only to the extent that I feel like I want people that can really benefit from it, But outside of that, that's all I care about. So like, share, subscribe, smash the buttons, whatever. Go subscribe to Brother Chris Logic channel. Go subscribe to Sister Monica channel. Go subscribe to anybody on here that has a YouTube channel that can post it in the back chat. Please support each other, right? That's my whole point of this, because people right here are making, buku videos about a whole lot of craziness, and they're just making tons of money through these algorithms. And people out here really putting in some good work, and they ain't really getting no kind of algorithm love, right? They're not getting no computer love, right? Y'all old school Zapp and Roger, right? Never mind. Some of y'all too young for that. All right, moving on. All right, moving on. So really quick, let me do this here. We're going to post the company first, the stock, and then we're going to hit the company, and then I'm going to end on that. So new platform alert. Yeah, I got a new channel, an extension of the scenario that I'm, affiliated with, right? Meaning the conversations that we talk about on here, some of the other stuff, but it's all still financially related. So it's not like I'm just going way, somewhere else. It's all going to still be financially, relevant, right? So new channel alert. First, let's look at the company first. Boom. CFVI. Now, some of y'all probably been sending me posts on this company here, right? Last couple of days, right? Or if you want to say that, yeah, last couple of days since Friday, right? Thursday, maybe a little, maybe Friday though. SPAC, obviously it's a SPAC, right? Reverse merger scenario here, right? It came obviously to market, around the spring of this year, right? It got its boost or its coming out party basically about 4 or 5 days ago. Isn't it funny how that worked? It was sitting around about $9, trending back between $9 near $9.60, $9.70. Like most SPACs are. They're waiting to get acquired. They're waiting to get their ticket punched. They're waiting to get called off the bench, right? Like a bench player, right? That could end up becoming a starter. They got their ticket punched on December the 2nd. It went from $9.70 all the way to $14 and change in one day. What caused that? What caused that? I wonder. CFVI. Anybody familiar with the company CFVI? Anybody? Right? Anybody familiar with this company? Right? So really quick, I gotta cut my lights on. I'm sitting there in the dark, man. 1 second. Let me. I'm over in the dark getting it in. I don't be caring about this stuff, no lights stuff, man. I'm just trying to work for the family. Let me cut my lights on here in my office, man. 1 second. Let me. Y'all bear with me for 2 seconds, right? Thank y'all for being patient again. Give your brother about a hot second here. While y'all look that company up, CFVI is the ticker symbol. Y'all look that up real quick. By the time I come back, y'all might can tell me something about it, right? Maybe y'all could, drop some knowledge on it. CFVI, right? Let me do this real quick here. Hold up. Where my where my thing at? I lost it, or did I? No, that's that. That's that. That's this, that. Oh, hold up. And so y'all post it in the back chat. When I come back, we're gonna discuss it. Right? We're gonna discuss that thing. Hold up. Where in the doggone world is my hold up, that's the channel. Did I mess around and close my the yard, or did I not? Oh, look, why is this thing? Okay. No, it's still showing. Okay, it's still showing. Y'all can see it. I just want to make sure y'all can see it. Like, why is this thing doing this? All right, let me put this up here. Let me bring it over here. All right, there we go. All right, so really quick. So let me do this real quick, and I'll be right back. Let me pump this up, and we'll be right back so we can talk about the CFVI. All right, some of y'all probably already own it too. All right. All right. Well, you know, yeah. 1 second. I'll be right back. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. All right. Cut a half a light on it here, right? Throw a little bit of that bear market. The bears getting all hyped up, right? Bears getting hyped up, right? A little excerpt there. No, so yeah, so coming back to that. Right, coming back to that. All right. Somebody come. Okay, you guys can hear me clearly. All right, test. All right, yeah. So let's see what you got in the back chat real quick. Okay, yep. So y'all own it. Yeah, it's a SPAC, brother. See you SPAC. So brother, I already own it, right? So Rumble, right? Rumble. Yep. Trump stock. Yep. There's a lot of conversation about this online this weekend. It's dominating a lot of online market forums right now, dominating it. Right. Stock tweets, Twitter, Reddit, Wall Street Bets. A lot of those guys, talking about this little stock, right? It does not have an option chain, not yet, because it's still a SPAC reverse merger yet to this point. Feature funds that Trump media stock was a nice lick. Yep. Still kept a few shares. Somebody, you bought into something with Trump. All right. So yeah, this little company here, Rumble, right? That's what it's tied to the SPAC CFVI. They're planning to go public, right? Now they supposed to be right. I'm going to put up a series of different, cards about this company, right? As you can see now, the stock is obviously, from a technical perspective, y'all see what's going on here, right? What do you see? Meteoric rise, literally about 5 days ago on some news, obviously. Pull back down a little bit, back to earth a little bit, still higher than where it came from. $9 still up around 11. Trended around a little bit. People try to make sense of news. They sold off into it because a lot of the market was getting beat up too, right? It's still the broader market coming down. A lot of stocks gonna come down too. What they got good news or not. That's how the markets work when everything's starting to bleed, from the bigger macro picture. So it brought some of these stocks back down too, right? It bottomed out, found support around $10. So it's still up $1 from where it came from, right? It hit at around that support. It built the support there, and now it's starting to kind of trend upward, right? So we'll just do like a little support line down there just on GP, right? Just use that as a litmus test. Again, it's just another extension of what the asset, where it's at, right? What it has done thus far, I should say, off this line of support, right? Or the support line, right? Let's do a little different little color, right? A little light color. No, let's do a loud color. Yeah, I guess that color was better suited the other one. But y'all get it, right? All right, let's do like a loud. Maybe we'll do that color. Anyway, move on. That's your pseudo support. Off that, it bounced, and now starting to build. What kind of pattern y'all see right there? Right? What kind of pattern do y'all see starting to come out of this right now? What pattern is that? You see the meteoric rise, you see the pullback, you see comes down, test support, fry pan bottom there a little bit, right? Establishing a level of support there, supposedly, right? And now you're starting to kind of come up off that. What kind of pattern is that? Of course, y'all know what that is, right? Right? Of course, y'all know what that is, right? All right. Cup and handle, right? Brother, family future fund show already on it, right? Cup and handle, right? Clear as day, right? So cup and handle definitely denotes what? Bullish or bearish signal, right? It denotes a what? bullish signal, right? So there's your cup, there's your little kind of somewhat little handle, right? Right. Some of y'all drink that Folgers coffee, right? Right. Look like more like oil lamp than anything, right? Just coming out from the turn of the depth of the cup down to the top of the resistance there, right? So that line in the middle pretty much denotes the length of it, right? So if you take that that aspect of it, that'll be the equal or greater move you're supposed to get on the top side once it breaks out. Of course, you can see it kind of equating that to up near what, $12 and 13 after hours. You got like a little bump up on it, right? We'll look at that too, right? So it's up because of what? Obviously news, right? So again, this company called Rumble, it's the SPAC, well, it's the main company through CFVI that is trying to come to public market through, right? This is just a financial vehicle, CFVI, that Rumble is looking to use to come public, right? That's what the reverse merger scenario is, where they can come to market a lot faster than the traditional IPO way. They find when these companies already out to have share structure in place already, you know, Brad and Bradstreet and Dunn number, basically, right? They have basic CUSIP number already in play through the SEC, FINRA, all that. They got all the checks and balances in play. And this is how they don't have to worry about going through underwriters to come to market, right? That's the whole point of a reverse merger SPAC, right? It's cheaper and it's easy to kind of get people already kind of, you know, into the stock by based from the fact that they'll be over a penny stock status of $5 a share or below, and it can attract a little bit more better investors or institutional investors, you know, through this lane, quote unquote. That's just the paraphrase version of a SPAC. Now, moving forward, this company, of course, is supposed to be the next major competitor to YouTube, right? Now, after hours Friday, it did run, right? Right? It did run after hours. A lot of this because they also got some news literally after the market's Friday that also pushed it a little higher, right? So, brother CG3 only say the market watch has it at 1334. It gapped up a little bit after hours and ran some more, right? Right? It gapped up a little out because they got what they call, you know, it's starting to get attraction, but on top of that, they got a price increase. They got an upgrade, right? They gave it a $40 price tag based upon the most current metrics of this company potentially coming to market and the value of the disruption that it may cause to that of what? YouTube or Google in this point, or Alphabet, right? The parent company Alphabet. Now, we know it still has a long way to go to catch a YouTube, but until then, this is the second thing that you got out there that has potential, and it has celebrity backing. Well, who's the celebrity and backer of this company? Matter of fact, who sits in control to be able to use this company for his or her benefit? Anybody know that celebrity? Anybody know that celebrity? Right? Anybody know that celebrity? Post it in the chat if you know. That's what makes this thing even more crazy, because this particular person, I'm just hinting out at this point, this particular person was somewhat banned from all the other platforms like a Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. They banned this person, and this person teamed up with some other people who were saying, let's do something a little different. And because of that, that's a massive cult following of dollars. I repeat, that's a massive cult following of dollars getting ready to come to this, right? Trump Media Company partnered up with, obviously, with DWAC, right? That's the media company brand. They're using companies like, what was that company? Got Fun, right? PHUN, right? To help the online media presence and digitization aspect of that, even with tokens and other stuff, NFTs and other stuff. And this company called Rumble, right? Rumble, right? Interesting name, right? Rumble, right? Rumble is what they consider to be a freedom of speech YouTube platform where Parler failed, right? Where all these right-wing, you know, pages fail. And I'm not going to specify as it being a right-wing page on. It's just that a lot of them gravitated over to it because they couldn't go nowhere else, right? Because they got this stuff shut down because they could not, you know, monetize their stuff through the algos or the AdSense scenarios that you could use through a Google or Twitter, right? The Apple Play Store, all this stuff like that, or Apple Store, whatever. They got kicked off. This channel is more neutral, but it just happened to have a lot of those people on it, right? Because they got nowhere else to go. But the great thing about it, again, it's from a financial perspective or an investor perspective, it's a competitor to that of YouTube. That they're not going to censor you. They're not going to take you down just because you talked about real world topics that happen to go against the agros or the people that's sitting there, micromanaging people's, pages. That's just the reality, right? So freedom of speech should be equal to everybody, even if it is a little sensitive and unless it's, again, not promoting violence, threats to anybody else, this, that, third. We know there's a fine line to that for some of us who understand the culture. We get it, right? There's some people out there that are very sinister in their whole approach. We get that. We're not stupid. But the idea that you don't have to worry about your content being scraped, or whatever, because you're talking about hot button topics that affect your life like anybody else. And again, we're just investors over here, right? Hands off us, right? Hands off us. We're just investors. We're trying to make sense, dollars and cents, that is. But we understand the parallel within this, right? So yeah, people are going to gravitate, right? So really quick, as of now, this little company just got a $40 price tag increase on it Friday after hours. The stock jumped up from like $11 and change and ran up above 13 plus. And it's been one of the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, top 5, top 10 trending tickers or companies over the entire weekend. Everybody talking about it. Why? Because again, we already know that on the Trump side, you know why they're talking about it. And it's tied to his, his media organization. They're going to come public through that SPAC, and they're looking to raise at least $1 billion, right? They're looking to raise at least $1 billion. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of data points concerning this, and then we're going to, get on out of here. But I want to show you, again, we move with our money and not with our emotions over here, right? It's important that we realize that, period, in the discussion, right? So as of now, here's some of the data or the stats concerning this SPAC or this scenario, right? Now, let me see. The first one I'm going to bring up here is, this is some of the target points people getting excited about for us when investing. Now, this is the average everyday investor. He ain't nobody important, right? Even to get no shine over here, right? But he put this out. This is some of that same energy that you might be getting on Wall Street bets, Reddit, right? We know they are the meme stock pumpers of the market now, right? The army, the wave, whatever, right? The Legion, right? I am Legion. That's Wall Street bets, Reddit crew, and Twitter that follow along in the Discord room. These people getting excited about this stock, and the more and more it spreads, because they're gonna spread like wildfire. They're gonna tell their friend. They're gonna tell a friend. Y'all get it. So my forecast for CFVI will be open up around 20 Monday morning, monster gap up. Now, this is all speculative. I don't believe none of this, right? Because I'm an investor, right? I don't believe none of this. This is all speculative until it can happen. Now, it does have the ability, the propensity to gap up. Now, to what extent, to what number, that's what we don't do. That's why I said we're not going to throw around numbers. They could gap up $15 Monday, 16, 20, over. I don't care. Ultimately, this is just talking about the opportunity within the stock, right? Because it's just starting to get, some material lenses and microscopic, research done on it. And the celebrity behind it is a very, very polarizing figure, right? A big figure in terms of Trump, right? Because again, they shut down everything else he tried to be a part of, the Paul, all that stuff. But this one, they're not. They can't, because it's already up and running. Now, this company Rumble that is attached to, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but this company has been in business since 2013. It was already out since 2013. So that what makes it good, because now at this point, they've already established a lot of things, the licenses and all this. They can't be just easily shut down just because, Google might be mad because Trump on it, or somebody else on it because of Trump on it. They can't come shut it down, right? Unless they come out with some other way. Not that they can't, but you know what I'm saying. Y'all get my point. So people are getting excited about it. So they throw around massive big numbers, right? We saw that with DWAC, right? Remember when DWAC broke out? It basically went from what? $9, $10 all the way to like $175 on that meteoric rise it made. I'm not saying this going to happen. I'm just saying, if this company has any kind of financial backing in terms of what it can do in terms of being able to steal market share from Google, in terms of YouTube, and be a natural competitor to it, then yeah, it can steal some market share. I'm looking at it from an investor point, and that's it, period. Right? I'm not caring about if it's attached to this person or that person. It's just a freedom of speech website that you can do a little bit more extra on than you can do on what? On YouTube. YouTube even come at you for what? From language now. They come at you even for language now. You can barely even curse on YouTube now. Right? I don't go that route anyway. But a lot of people being their stuff shut down, demonetized because they conversation, like curse words, been shutting people down lately. Couldn't make this stuff up. Right? It's that bad, right? It's that crazy. I'm gonna just say it's that crazy. What's going on, Brother Chaos Rain? Peace, power, and profit to you, family. See you in the building. So they getting excited for this stock. Now, again, disclaimer. I am in the asset, right? I took a small position around about $11.20 some odd cents, right? So disclaimer, I am in the asset for the, the ideal of what it could be. Like any investor, you do your research. You take a position based upon what you think is a operable investment, whatever. It can end up a trade, whatever. But that's just the value in that. That's my disclaimer. I mean, like $11.20 some odd cents, right? But they're getting excited about it, right? Because again, the ideal of that. So again, do halts, whatever, soar, whatever. Moving on. So you see this why this guy all pumped up, right? And a lot of other people follow him. This ain't just him, but it's other pages out here like this that people post stuff like that and they got bigger numbers than this guy. But I'm just showing you the extent of how people getting all riled up about it. All right, now let's move to another piece of information here. This is important, right? This just came out again on the 3rd, right? So CF Acquisition Corp / what? Rumble. That means they're attached at the hip at this point, right? CF Acquisition Corp basically is an extension of Rumble. Them coming through the market, through the reverse merger through them, right? Rumble stock will soar, right? Notice they said will soar. They didn't say it soar yet. They're saying it's will soar. So that means they planning. Right? It could end up being a dud. It could end up being a real deal. Who knows? It does have material value in terms of a use case because it's already out. This ain't like a Lucid or when these car companies that's electric that ain't push the car to production yet, and it's all this future valuation money attached to it. This is actual company that's already up and running. It's people using this site right now, and they're monetizing their videos on this channel. You can make it's monetized. It's a monetized video website too. It's already set up where you can get monetized, essentially. All right, and we're gonna go through it a little bit before I get on. So SPAC, CF Acquisition, obviously CFVI, agreed earlier this week to take YouTube's conservative competitor Rumble's public, right? Let me read that again. Agreed, SPAC, CF Acquisition Corp, right? That's the full name. Agreed earlier this week to take YouTube's conservative competitor Rumble public. So right there, YouTube's conservative competitor Rumble, meaning conservative, meaning people who follow the conservative thought process. Now, again, people that's on there, from what I've seen from going around it, these people are just people who want to talk their ish, right? They want to talk their mess, and they ain't got to worry about YouTube censoring them. And some of them are a part of that radical side of that aspect of whatever too, right? But I'm still talking about the one thing that I premised earlier: freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech. So you can have more critical, in-depth conversations about certain things, not have to worry about, algos hitting you across the head, right? Beating y'all down the back, more hot grease on you, right? That's one thing that you can't do on Facebook, Twitter, and Google, YouTube. That's just the facts, right? So now in a report, the former President Trump's Truth Social, right? That's a Truth Social, so DWAC, will pay Rumble for distribution, basically distribution and access, right? Right. So distribution and right distribution. They're gonna pay Rumble. That means money's coming into Rumble. Trump's Truth Social gonna pay Rumble for distribution of their material. So yeah, they're already talking about raising about $1 billion initially $1 billion, right? So Cantor CEO Howard Lutnick, right, was talking about the relationship between Trump and Rumble on Bloomberg TV. There you go. They dog whistling now. That means they finna hit everybody on the big side of things. Big money. They're trying to attract big money. Bloomberg TV, right? They're trying to attract big money. According to a tweet, the tweet also said that the user growth of Rumble is whatever, and we're going to get to that, right? They're talking about the growth of this particular company, right? Therefore, the value that it potentially can grow into, knowing that it can be a main competitor of YouTube. Remember when they had that big exodus of people leaving Twitter because they banned Trump, right? Remember there people, they were crying, but they were crying real. They were mad they banned Trump. I was laughing. I don't care about none of them idiots, right? All them idiots to me. Period. And if you all for any of those guys, no disrespect to you, but I don't get caught up in my emotion when it comes to other people. I'm just sorry. I ain't putting nobody on the pedestal above me. Period. Right? And it's gonna be my mom, if anybody, right? My mom, right? So I don't play them games. I understand the politicization of things. I'm here trying to find a way to have a better financial future for me and my family. Period. In a discussion. Right. And I'm not gonna let emotions get in the way of that. But I also want to be able to talk to people in a way that's very direct and sincere, and I not have to worry about being censored like anybody else. So yeah, there's two sides to every conversation. You can't shut everybody down just because they don't align with your so-called political views. That's where I come in at, and I say I'm neutral because you got to understand that and not be so polarized where you can't have that natural conversation. So moving on. Here's the numbers. Here's where it gets serious. Here are the numbers, right? So as of now, right? Rumble, CFV, right? CFVI, right? The aspect of growth here is phenomenal, right? Right? It's all speculative, but it is reality based because they got money on the books coming in, and they already in business. So it's a difference. And they already attract the revenue, right? So as of now, the tremendous growth from 1.6 million average monthly user, right? Obviously, you know MAU. We talked about this a lot, right? Monthly active user. That's the terminal acronym they use. MAUs, monthly active users, right? In Q3 of 2020, it was only at 1.6, and it as of that point, they grew basically to 36 million active users. And 1 year later, basically, one whole full calendar fiscal year later, they grew up to 36 million. So basically 36x, right? Right? Big move there, right? Right? 36x move in 1 year in terms of active users. Monthly active users, 1.6 to 36 million. Somebody going to this website now. Somebody starting accounts. Somebody finding out about this, right? All this started to happen on the back of all the stuff we dealt with last year and the fireworks and all this stuff and the election and whatever, right? Again, I'm just the middleman talking about it from the investor standpoint, right? As of August, right, they're up to 44 million. 44 million as of August 2021, right? Viewer engagement grew by 44x from Q2 2020 to Q3, basically, 2021. 8 billion minutes watched per month. 8 billion minutes. People on there going there to get what they consider to be alternative news, straightforward, straight shooter news, no chaser, all the language that you want to hear, all that and then some. That's why they going to that site, because they know they can't get a lot of that stuff on YouTube any longer because of the whole scenario, right? Whether you for or you against, that's just not, I'm the investor here. So yeah, and for what it's worth, do y'all think the number's going to decrease from here, or y'all think they're going to increase from here? I'm asking for a friend, right? I'm just asking for a friend. Do y'all think the number's going to increase from here, or y'all think they're going to decrease from here, or just stay neutral and just go sideways from this point, meaning they capped out? Anybody? Good question, brother Snotball. Will YouTube algos prevent posting links to CF? They're connected. Rumble have a link where you can connect your YouTube to Rumble. So yeah, you can port your videos over, you can post them yourself, take them and put them over there, or you connect to YouTube in the same breath and go live. Because YouTube obviously has no rights over them on their particular on their own platform. So that's important to think about that. So if you think they're going to increase in user growth from here, decrease or be neutral going forward. Because they're just not, y'all just starting to see that. They just starting to get even more excited about this whole company, right? Just per the news that came out Friday, everybody talking about it, right? This idea that has been out, people just now starting to hear about it because this whole idea that the primaries coming up, election cycle coming up, and these people going to have a platform where they can go and talk they mess. They're going to speak their speech literally on that site Rumble, because the site in itself is manifesto, or not the manifesto. It just as white paper says, guess what? They basically are in the freedom of speech game, where they obviously invoke, discourse, debate, stuff like that. That's right within their model. They want to have those kind of conversations. As long as it's not inciting violence, terroristic acts, or this, that, the third, they'll allow it. So you could talk about the jab, whether you for or you against it. You could talk about presidents, whether you for or you against it. You can say, let's go Brandon. Yeah, y'all know what that means. You can say, let's go Brandon over there, and they ain't gonna come for you. You can do all that. You could be literally who you want, I guess, essentially, right? Anyway, So guess what? So a transaction is expected to provide approximately 400 million in proceeds to Rumble, including a fully committed pipe of 100 million at $10 per share and a 300 million of cash held in trust account for CFE. See, they already started to put together a war chest, or they're building their coffers up to deal with this, to go forward in terms of being able to what? Integrate, innovate, and spread out more of their media, extension in terms of getting people to come to the platform and grow it. Again, money already moving. So it's not like, oh, we coming from the ground up and there's nothing here. This is money already out there. And they got a $300 million trust. And again, Trump them looking to raise $1 billion, right? That's the whole point of Trump social media, Truth Social. They're trying to raise $1 billion to give it to Rumble, to distribute a lot of their talking points, their platform, their video stuff. That's why they're going to Rumble. So he's going to be like the celebrity, marketing dude that they're going to use. Now, again, people going to say it's a Trump website. You know how the people are. They very bipolar. Look, you get it. You know they're going to say that, but it's not. Right? But the company understands that this just going to be good for them because it's what? It's free public advertisement. It's the same way with Elon Musk advertising stuff like Dogecoin, stuff like that. He free, giving them free ad revenue and public, edification. It's the same for this company, Rumble. Rumble going to use that same approach. Whether they for or against Trump to that regard, but we already know he's been hanging out with Trump. We get it. We said it. You're going to see them pictures of that. The guy named Pavlo, whatever his name is. They've been hanging out with Trump, whatever. But y'all get it. So as an investor, that's all I look at. Like what the numbers are going to look like. So Rumble founder and chief executive officer to retain voting control to facilitate the execution of Rumble's neutral mission on behalf of all stakeholders. So recently they just had a proxy vote to figure out, who got the control and share ownership of the company. Turned out he had enough shares to still remain in control, so that way he could keep the platform neutral. Therefore, people like an outsider can come in that may be a part of the woke culture and come in and try to buy out the ownership, so they can come over there and do the same thing they did to a lot of other platforms. That's basically what that means in paraphrase version. He has a controlling interest in keeping the platform neutral. Our freedom of speech platform, essentially. Right. So those are the baseline numbers. These are real numbers in that perspective that you can go pull up on the S1, right? You can pull up the SEC S1 filings. Some of this stuff is in there. Other stuff that you got about to come, you go pull this stuff up and see it for yourself, because these are just, this is the data, right? This is the numbers, as they say, that's the numbers, right? Right. So yeah, it's gonna be buzzing with a lot of those right-wing people, but it's gonna have some people over there from the left side too. It's gonna be people from in the middle in there too. It's gonna be people who don't even care about either the right side or the left side, and they're gonna be on there just like, look, bro, I want to be able to come on here and talk, the way I need to talk about the sharing this and there and that. And I'm saying that because I'm going to be one of them, right? Just in case I need the backup for the backup for the backup. I went right on over there. It cost me nothing to start a little page up. I got me one popping too. Right. And it ain't nothing special, but I'm going to use it for the reason that everybody else uses it. So as of now, I'm gonna show y'all a little snippet of my little page, because y'all know I'll be cutting up with them gifts and them memes and all that, right? But I do come with a very in my opinion, very neutral perspective when it comes to a lot of stuff, because I want to be able to reach people from wherever they are, right? From wherever they are. All right. So really quick here. And we almost out of here, guys. We've been rocking for a minute here, even though I'm trying to go quick. All right. So as of now, this is my little page. So I'm going to share the link. So if y'all guys do want to start one on there, you'll have my link, right? So, true serum, right? The obedient pragmaticists, excuse me, right? All right. So again, obedient, keyword, operative word, obedient pragmaticist, right? Because I want to be able to invoke, proper thought in a very disciplined manner, right? In a disciplined manner, right? So I did this on the fly, of course. It's just little thumbnail in the page itself, and of course, YouTube. I ain't never had no problem with YouTube to that level, to that regard. But some people are gonna be like, man, eventually they're gonna start coming for people. So they'll have to come over here and they have to worry about, just in case they come from out, I have to come back and look at them like, y'all mad, y'all mad, right? And again, this page is set up where. The channel of it is set up where you can obviously monetize your work out the gate. You don't need to have 1,000 subscribers like YouTube to even begin to monetize your channel. You can start monetizing your channel day one, right? Day one, right? So anytime you see True Serum / Obedient Pragmatists, that's your brother, right? That y'all already see the icon I got there with Buddy right there with that little face on the $100 bill. We've done that before. Y'all seen that face before, right? So we're gonna cut them and have a little fun over there at the same time, right? So I'm gonna load my stuff onto this channel the same way, and that's it. So as you can see right here, look at the top. Look at this. At the very top, it says what? Breaking. Rumble to combine with NASDAQ listed CFVI. This is already hard stamped on every time you move throughout this channel or this app. They let you know, look, we finna move into the money. We finna grow. They're letting it be known. They finna grow. Y'all just saw some of the numbers, right? And they just starting to get, starting to ramp up. That's it. I didn't even deal with everybody. Think about investing in this thing going forward. I'm not going to just say Monday because it could be a crazy trade Monday, or it could just tank. Who knows? But people getting ready. All right. So let me click on that really quick here. All right. So y'all can see this. Y'all make sure y'all can see it. Oh, it moved to another page. My bad. Really quick. Let me do this really quick. And I'm doing that because again, I'm kind of being the I'm kind of being the right. I'm kind of being the crash dummy for everybody else, but I want to share it because they have a referral system too. So if you sign up for their page, right, I'm gonna give y'all my referral link. So anytime y'all sign up, if y'all decide to want to get on here, y'all can share it with everybody, and you'll get a referral for signing people up to be on the site. Now they kind of doing it like the same way you do like an investment app, right? They're gonna give you that kind of bonus aspect of bringing people to the website because they knew they want to attract people, right? So this is from the CEO himself, Chris Pavlovsky, right? He's been getting a lot of press coverage lately. Fox, obviously, Fox, definitely. But seriously, just around the ideal of CNBC because they got to talk about him neutral like everybody else, right? They can't be discriminatory against him. He's a CEO of a publicly traded company now that's looking to go public, of course. So they're gonna give him shine on CNBC and all that too, right? So yeah, y'all might want to, hey, so I'm saying, make sure y'all, stay up to beat with that what they call up, whatever, right? So let me get my my link. So again, if y'all want to start, it's a referral system link by it, where you can share it. And yeah. So of course, the name that I have entitled, y'all gonna laugh when y'all see it, but y'all know I already been talking about this stuff before. Right. So let me post it over here on YouTube really quick here. Y'all get a kick out of this, right? So my Rumble link, right? Rumble, let me put it in this like this here. My Rumble referral link. right here, and let me share it over here on Facebook too. Right now, I'll be going on Facebook. Right, it's called. Well, I'll do the whole page. I come to it too. Right, they're gonna be cutting up over there, boy. So that's my link right there. Right, so go ahead and register your site on there. It's free, of course, in that regard, and it's a freedom of speech site. You can go in there and talk your ish, right? Talk your ish. And you don't have to worry about the people coming for you, right? Because they invoke that. So everybody that's on there that's already wide open that y'all probably knew about on the other site, they probably over there too. Probably Alec Jones, probably D Nash. Well, definitely D Nash is over there. I ended up subscribing to him, Dinesh D'Souza, right? Y'all know about him, right? If you don't know about it, y'all might want to look him up. Because yeah, he's something special. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. And they definitely came after him for a lot of other stuff too, but whatever. All right. So that's my link there. So I'm gonna post over here on Facebook, right? Because I definitely go in on Facebook. I don't really care about Facebook. I'll be going in on Facebook. Ain't no secret there. Right? But yeah, so yeah, connect with me there. Start your page, then share your referral link too with somebody else. Right. And that's a page that's again is the it's set up where you can monetize your stuff right out the gate, and you can go in there and create content. All right, it's a page for content creators. That's essentially the whole reality within that, right? So going back to the page, right? So some of this conversation. So again, just reading from the CEO. He says, "What we are Rumble, right? We are for people with something to say, something to share, and who believe in authentic expression, and we want to control the value of their own creations." Which is hard to do that on YouTube. Right? in some cases, right? We create technology that are immune to cancel culture, right? That part right there. That's why, in terms of the East and West Coast gang, Republicans and Democrats, that's why they, well, I just say the Democrats of all people, gonna probably have a problem with that, right? That council, because they are ensconced in the council culture right now. They haven't figured out how to deworm itself from the council culture in a way where it's not hurting their political stance or political opportunity to keep voters with them. Because these people that came in and hijacked their whole agenda, and they just following suit, right? Like, I don't know who leading who in this, but it seems like the council culture is leading the Democrats right now. That's just my opinion, and it may hurt them in the primaries. We was already talking about that. Virginia was not a fluke, right? Virginia losing the governor's seat, right? Look, that was not a fluke, right? That was not a fluke, right? The first time that happened in a lot of years in the state of Virginia, where they lost, the seat, right, to a Republican governor, right? Anyway, so because everyone benefits when we have access to more ideas, diverse opinions, and dialogue. Everybody benefits, basically. Join us. We are on a mission to protect a free and open internet, right? We are hiring people. Send your cover letter and resume to jobs@rumble.com. New careers page coming soon. They're trying to hire people. They finna get all these content creators that's disgruntled at Google. Everybody leaving Google for other reasons, they coming right over to Rumble. Everybody disgruntled about, I was on YouTube and just Google as a whole, and disgruntled with Facebook, they coming right over here. Everybody disgruntled with Twitter, right? They coming right on over here, right? Hey, y'all get it. Y'all already know what it is, right? I'm not making this up. Y'all know what it is, right? Right? Let's get you a page and get on here and talk your ish. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Anyway, but that's that in terms of that, right? So let's go back to the website itself, right? So again, you got people on here like Russell Brand on here. Y'all know Russell Brand is a comedian. He be talking a lot of craziness, right? It's all kind of people on here. Dinesh, like I said, D'Souza, Ron Paul and Rand Paul, father and son, he over here, right? Some of the other people, I don't even know about people like that, because I ain't caring about it. I know this guy, I've seen him on Fox sometime and other sites. They be going, he different, I guess. But Reuters on here, of course, Reuters, New York Times, all the publications like that, they on here. Of course, that's, is everybody on here from that perspective. But again, it's set up where you can create your own little custom video player, exchange frictionless license. You can license your stuff, right? Or have it, to the point where you can move it around and other stuff and manage and monetize your video. See right there? Easy syndication, distribution, full transparency, DRM control, whitelisting and backlisting, mobile application, industry high CPMs and all that, right? You can monetize your work out the gate. You don't have to worry about getting to 1,000 subscribers first like YouTube, and you just start monetizing out the gate, right? Full transparency, analytics, enterprise, WordPress plugins, over 400,000 video access, 130,000 channels, simple embedded code, 50% revenue share, 50% revenue share. No license fees in that perspective. So you get 50-50, right? Of course, if you give a person like, on YouTube, they take, I think the super chat is like a third. What they take, something like that. But they're giving you 100% top and bottom, 50% out the gate. So they're just making a partnership, right? So API access to data analytics, JavaScript, iframe implementation, hourly updates, stats analytics, free storage, and encoding, competitive bandwidth. You can pay for more tier space on here too. But that's just showing you the video player, right? So it's set up for a lot of, I think they can do 4K on here, I think. If I'm not mistaken, customizable HTML5 video player, DFP and ad server integration, right? Fastest video player, right? So it got a lot of different things that they built, and it's still young. Like I say, by the time the money start coming in, it's gonna beef up, right? Yeah, you right. You right, brother Snotball. They recruit people like Dave Chappelle. Well, they're gonna throw some of this stuff on here. Right? Hate, like, love it, and different, right? He coming, possibly, right? But this is it, because it's giving people that kind of idea, right? It's just some of the stuff, right? So, yeah, see right here. So this people gonna be able to talk about the virus and make light of it or whatever, go in depth, and they have to worry about being censored. And yeah, that kind of stuff gonna go down. It won't be censored, right? They're gonna go after these CEOs and they're gonna go after the whole lot of stuff like that. So as y'all can see up here to the right here, y'all see that's my name right here on the page, right? I even changed the color a little bit of my icon, right? You can see the color up there, more like a red color, right? It's called what? Oh, it ain't showing, huh? God, I forgot. I got to change the dang on. I'm sitting there just talking and underlining this stuff, and y'all can't even see it. Shame, bro. Shame. Yeah, shame. Hold up, where we at? There we go. This is it. Sorry. My bad, guys. So this is it. So again, is it showing? Okay, it should be showing now. There we go. My bad. I'm just going in. But yeah, so that's it right there. Again, the full extent of it. So let me go on and maximize the entire screen of it. I guess it'll build up, whatever. But yeah, so that's the site, and I was just reading off some of the stuff at the bottom falls, the video player, video exchange, and video hosting, right? These topics here across the bottom here, concerning, what all it offers as of now. And you can upgrade to different tiers like a StreamYard. You can pay for more space. You can pay for the ability to have more, bandwidth and all that stuff. You try to do something major, whatever, like, I don't know, syndications, I don't know. So it gives you options, right? You can pay like a $10. I have the free version, of course. You can do a $10 one. They got one like a $24 one. And they also have what they call media packages. So like if you're a business, like a small business, they got like media packages. I'm not making this stuff up, right? Well, you can, do like a small business package for like $200 some odd, and you can run like, like the same way how, they bring on ad revenue for like YouTube, and people pay once you reach over a certain subscriber. You usually pay for all that stuff up front, and then they'll just run it. They'll just run it on everybody else stuff through the advertisement, right? So look at this video right here. It made $144. See, and it shows you how much some of these channels making off their content. So you can't obviously see that on YouTube. Obviously, whatever. Some people may not want to have that out there or not, but yeah. Person here made $144 off this video right here. All right, let's click on it. All right. 159, right? Since I last had it up there, it's up now. What, extra little extra money. Look how many views they got. 3,000. I don't know if that pertaining to the actual page itself or this content that they put up here concerning dogs, but if it's the content that they put up, only 3,000 views made them $150, $160. Right? If I'm reading that right, I'm still learning it, so don't come for me. But that's $160 off 3,000 views of dogs attempt to hide and seek doesn't go as well. Right? I mean, stuff like that. Right? That's $160. Right? $160. Right? This little video right here made $67. This must be a new one they put up recently. And guess what? It's only 27 seconds long. 27 seconds video of this little dog, whatever this is, made $67, $70. Man, that's almost better than some of the investments. Right? Man, look. But y'all get my point, right? And see, you got like comments down at the bottom, like same way like YouTube. You can come in and comment, whatever, right? I guess you click on something, you get these little rumble points or something. I don't know. So TikTok starting to censor people lately. Everybody leaving these, well, they ain't leaving them, but even they get more stringent on socks like TikTok. So yeah, a lot of people from over there coming over here. Right. So that's all I'm saying in that regard. But it's hey, it's real in the field. That's all I can say. It is real in the field. Right. People trying to figure out ways to, still stay relevant. And so you're gonna see a lot of stuff on there concerning all this stuff. So as you can see, there's some of the stuff on here. Right. You have your subscription list to the side, like how it is on YouTube to a degree. Right. Stuff like that, license, trending, all this stuff like that. It's same way. And they still starting out. They just starting out. Right. So real quick, I'm gonna play this little excerpt of this guy right here. Rama goes public, right? This whole idea. And this guy, he's not an investor, but he's one of them guys that, freedom of speech type guys, right? And so we know these people obviously are, they say a whole lot, and it's good to kind of know what a lot of people think about, so you kind of pick their brain in terms of what they're thinking about. But to show you the extent of how they're looking at this site as a potential growth perspective, and how they may be looking at it from an investor's perspective, because that's what I care about. I'm an investor, right? The mindset of it, right? And I'm an investor. I be want to know exactly, how people feel about it, because again, they have the ability to have a big army, right? A big legion of people come behind this. Now that they know Trump is going to be attached to this, and they finna start pouring their investment dollars all into this, right? So whatever. right? Whether you for or you against, right? Because I don't, again, Trump dusted to me, right? Joe Biden dusted to me too. So yeah, you can't really come from me. Both of them dusted to me, right? I'm in the middle trying to, get my dollars up, right? Yeah, it ain't gonna make itself. The bag and the secure itself. Anyway, so let's look quick little sound bite. This guy here that we're gonna get on off here. But this is the kind of somebody that's been around the other stuff, I guess, and coming to this site because he feel like this is where he can get in. But see, now this guy here, not even an investor, but he probably want to be a part of that whole investment world now, right? Because they feel like they invested in something that really stands for what they believe in. This is the kind of stuff I'll be talking about. They get all emotionally invested. We're being strategically invested, right? And we're like, man, here they going tomorrow, right? We rent, we lease, we don't own, right? Period. Right. Roll some of that bean footage.
All right, everyone, we have fairly big new tech news today. Of course, not a new tech video. Got to put this on YouTube too, so I remind people, link in the description. I have a channel on Rumble. I'll also pin a comment with the same link. Yes, you should join me there. I have a feeling that this is a harbinger of things to come, and I don't just mean with Rumble. Scuttlebutt is, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that other new tech firms, and Rumble is not straight up new tech. I'll explain the differentiation. Are looking to load significant investments into their companies through, going public, selling stock, various investments, et cetera, mergers and shit. You saw, of course, Rumble recently merging with Locals, absorbing them. Locals more of a new tech thing. Some people are saying, oh no, this will ruin Rumble. They're going to become less free speech oriented. I'm going to say I fucking told you so. Years ago. Did I not say that because money was capable of being made with new tech sites, because of the innovation and also the general feeling of the public that the old wave tech sites, they're in decline, ultimately. They're no longer offering the same kind of excitement and also possibility for users to make money that they once did. Therefore, at some point, this was what I predicted, I think around 2017 or thereabouts, investors will begin buying into these sites under various forms. Of course, like a site like Odyssey that's entirely blockchain-based. BitChute is looking to branch out and make its own blockchain. Rumble might end up experimenting with that. You have all of these methods of making money. If I'm an investor, especially one with fuck you money, like Peter Thiel, who is bought into Rumble, I don't care about the wokeness thing. If I can make money, I'll make money. The fact that you get so much attention through such a thing as what Rumble just accomplished makes the stock potentially rise. People will buy in because they think they can make money. And right now we're in a free-for-all roaring 20s style era, at least as far as investment is concerned. Between all of the different cryptos, trillions in funny money have been artificially created to the point where Hillary Clinton is worried that it's going to endanger the supremacy of the US dollar. That's bullshit. She's just sad she didn't buy Bitcoin when it was 20 or 30 bucks a piece. They had, the Clintons would certainly be able to afford more Vince Foster scenarios. Epstein really wouldn't need to kill himself at that point. Here's the thing. And again, link in the description as well, an archived link to the story. They've merged with CF Acquisition Corp. Now, some people are saying, aha, but they're tied to individuals who in turn have ties to other people in business that are woke or paired with corporations that push wokeness and progressivism. Yes, but you're not understanding the underlying basis of how businesses work. They work based on money. The left is convinced that they work based on wokeness too. They buy the Nike shoes and eat Ben & Jerry's and shit and don't realize you're just giving rich people more money and being materialistic. They've conned you into thinking the fact that they changed their avatar to a rainbow for a couple of weeks a year makes them woke on one issue, or they have the BLM flag because there was a school shooting, and so they're woke. So they're progressive now. They're not cutthroat billionaires that fundamentally operate in a corporatized system. They're activists. See, the left's been completely goddamn conned. Likewise, people on the right misinterpret what's happening with these businesses. They care about money. The investors don't care whether the company's woke or not. They're looking at the balance sheets. If the company's being attacked by leftoid idiots to the point where, because it's investment-based, those investments are primarily from corporations that have the ear of those leftoid activists, they're going to go woke. If your investors don't care, And the early investors, the smart money getting in on these sites that are investing in Rumble or BitChute or using Subscribestar, etc., branching out into using Minds and Gab and so forth, they're not woke. And so there's nobody to shriek about the investment because the investors are primarily the early smart money private investors that are looking to make that early surge of wealth. Now, this means that several years down the road, you could have them begin divesting because they've already loaded themselves. They've already made their return, no longer interested. They go on to the next site, potentially. That can happen. Or they stick it in, but they don't invest more. And then you get the second wave of investors. Private individuals, possibly, depending on the structure of the stock, etc., and corporations. Those corporations, by that time, might not even be doing the wokeness thing. It's a subcultural temporary phenomenon. It's part of the current social paradigm. I hate to tell you this, we've gone through the wokeness thing before. Have you ever studied the anarchist art period of the early 1900s, everyone? The actual peak of socialism within most of the Western Hemisphere being literally 100 fucking years ago? Oh, that certainly, it didn't carry over very far in the 1950s. It became rather unfashionable now, didn't it? Comes back a little 70s, 80s, kind of goes away a little bit more with the moral majorityists at some point. You got the Reagan youth competing with them. Now the wokeness is there. It's not unidirectional. And even if they are, let's say that they ruin Rumble or all of these companies 5-6 years down the road, buys us an awful lot of innovation time. And this, by the way, let me say as well, is why I use multiple video hosting platforms. That every day I tell you, hey, I don't just use YouTube, I'm using Minds, I'm using Dailymotion, I'm using Rumble, I'm using Odyssey, and I'm using BitChute. 6 different fucking video hosting sites. I've become unsilenceable. It doesn't matter if one of these sites goes woke. If YouTube bans me tomorrow, it just means that a significant number of people realize I'm missing and they know that I'm on other sites and they go and potentially find me. Then it benefits those sites. They'd be laughing. Honestly, at some point it'd be funny. Here's a conspiracy theory for the really jaded ones out there. Wouldn't it be funny if someone suggested, hey, the new tech CEOs are going to get together and they're going to use like middlemen to actually pressure YouTube and sites like that to ban more people so that they can laugh all the way to the bank? Wouldn't that be a funny one? Would be cutthroat corporatism now, wouldn't it? As long as it's paired with a good branding strategy and require a non-competitive vertical monopoly, the kind that currently exists with mainline tech. That's the other thing. A site that is younger and has fewer users has less latitude to abuse its user base. Rumble could learn a bit from VidMe and the fact that they began abusing the hundreds of thousands of politically minded users that fled to their site in the wave of the first ad revenue bullshit on YouTube. Said, well, I'm going to branch out, and there's a site called VidMe. It's run by some Redditors, actually, with an injection from Reddit to the tune of $1 million, if I remember correctly. And then they take a dump on their own user base because they preferred a bunch of German gaming channels. Well, that wasn't the greatest idea, now was it? But Rumble has embraced, rather than spurned, the new wave of people using it. And I mean, it's been around since 2013. It's already had that plethora of content. I'm building up quite an audience there, the same as I am on Odyssey and BitChute and Minds, to a lesser degree Dailymotion, but I'm still the #3 creative channel by subscriber count there, so check it out. For a content creator, for someone like me, I'd rather just be on all these different platforms. And it's sort of like a cookie cutter thing as far as the uploads, because most of them, they're TOS. I'm not even worried about being banned by YouTube. There, it's mainly algorithmic demotion. It's just nobody can fucking find my content when I upload it. If it weren't for that, there'd be less incentive. YouTube doesn't care about competing with TikTok either. They do this half-assed hashtag shorts thing, takes extra steps and makes no goddamn sense. And then TikTok's busy banning people too, so neither of the mainline short Vine ripoff sort of systems work very well. So congrats to Rumble. I think it's a good thing. And I'm looking into buying potentially some stock actually in Rumble. It's going to be listed on NASDAQ. I don't know anything about buying stock.
That part.
I don't know, is it like crypto? Is it like an app that I can use for that? I don't know. This is how you know I'm not actually a baby boomer. Every baby boomer knows how to day trade. They just don't know how to do it with crypto. Hey, I just bought a bunch of dogies. What are these worth? Yeah, that's about all. Peace out.
All right. So, from their mouth to our ears, this is the average mindset. I'm coming from that snarky, with mentality of wanting to have the ideal, value of what they call free speech afforded to them through any means necessary. How majority of that, type of YouTube or not necessarily YouTube, but content creator will now flood as well to sites just like this. Like he spoke a very potent truth, right? A very potent truth. Some of the stuff that we've been seeing too, right? Where a lot of people again censored or whatever, and they're trying to find other ways that they can keep their content, going forward. So Rumble, of course, in this infant stage, in that perspective, they're going to be more inept to want to cater to what the user base they already got because they need the numbers, right? And again, what makes them a little bit more immune to the idea of what some of the other sites that tried it and they folded later. Again, who's the mascot for Rumble? Right? This is not rocket science, guy. Who is the mascot for Rumble? Right? The mascot for Rumble is this guy, right? They say this guy, like that guy, or this guy? This guy. This guy, right? This guy's the mascot. So that means if that's the mascot, you think, the people that's going to follow him going to take any kind of mess off of these at the front office of Rumble? Like, hey, bro, God, this guy, he's the archetype here in his perspective, right? They're going to cater to that, right? So that's what I'm saying. So you got to be conscious of understand that. So again, you ain't got to worry about him that had to deal with Twitter, right? He ain't gonna be the Twitter Karen any longer, right? He ain't got to ask for the manager, right? He gonna have to ask for the manager over there at Twitter or Facebook, right? Zuckerberg or Dorsey. No, Dorsey stepped down recently. Y'all know what that's all about, right? I'll leave that alone. I'll talk about that tomorrow, possibly. All right. Jack Dorsey stepped down from Twitter CEO position for a reason. Right, excuse me, I'm eating apples. So again, that's the that's their marketing tool. They got to stick his face up there. That's all they're gonna need. And people are gonna flood to it just because like Dude was just talking about, right? And many other reasons too. So, Trump at the house right now, getting ready, right? Because of course, the Democrats were trying to, tell him before, like, you can't even get away from, Russia Gate and all this other stuff. Like, man, Trump at the house planning for a comeback. Trump at the house planning for a comeback, right? He in there trying to keep up with them polls a little bit. He's like, oh, look, man, stop trying to distract me. Boy, stop trying to distract me. All right? Trump said, all right, I'm going to take that. Let me come. Right? Trump right now at the house. Trump like, well, I'm getting ready to come back. Return of the Mac. That's Trump at the house right now. Right? Trump on a comeback. So you better believe, again, these people fired up about this. Right? They're fired up about this. Right? And we know numbers don't lie, even when it seems to be, spurred on because of people emotionally compromised or whatever. That's just my, that's not my concern. Right? My concern is, can it catch a bid? Right? Again, on the ethical aspect, it ain't, affecting the ideal of anything that had to deal with me in that perspective, or, or the likeness thereof of my kind value. Let me get that bag. Right? Again, CLVI is definitely on watch for Monday. Again, like I say, disclaimer, I do got a little starter position in it at like $11.20 some odd cent. And again, we'll see, because it's going to get a fusion of cash, coming. All right. People are going to start saying, okay, well, if that's the scenario, right, they're already starting to feel that energy from DWAC because DWAC started to break out again. They kind of hit a level of support around 50. They couldn't break it. They tried to break it, right, and push it back down to 10, 11, 12, 20. They could not, right? They got it down and the stock, went right back up, right? And so this latest round of news came out, gave it more life, right? The idea that Trump is finna, they're going to take this thing to the next level, right? This whole Truth Social thing, they're planning to take it to the next level. And Rumble's going to be the main beneficiary because it's going to be the platform they're going to use, right, to distribute a lot of their content. So Trump has to port with them. He has to, integrate with them in that perspective, because a lot of their videos that they're going to need to connect with their people that they can't do on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, any of that, they're going to be doing it through Rumble. You see what I'm saying? And all that, well, Fox will be able to kind of air, but that's going to be still, whatever. But this is no holds barred on Rumble. So I'm just looking at it from that perspective, right? That's all I'm doing, right? That's it. No more, no less. So take it as a grain of salt. Do your own research. Do your own due diligence. If it's something that interesting, excuse me, for me, again, I like the idea of that, having that backup over there too, and the fact that again, it's a referral base where you can share your link and sign people up and get referral points for it, and it's a free site. And you can pay for the stuff you want, like if you want to upgrade all that stuff like StreamYard, but yeah, I'm using the free stuff. So that's my little, that's my rebellious name over there, African Emporium Anarchy. Right? Y'all know we talking about the anarchy stuff for a minute. Right? So that's my little Rumble page name over there, African Emporium Anarchy. Right? No spaces, verbatim. Right? African Emporium Anarchy. Right? We're gonna talk it over there, boy. I keep it 100 over here, but y'all know how it is. I'm just gonna lay it all out. Right? So if you over there, if you use my link to sign up, or if you just sign up anyway, whatever, you'll be able to find me over there under that name right there. Right? And again, there's the link again right here. If you do sign up or choose to sign up, you'll have it right there. So I'll make sure I have that posted over there too. And in the comment section once this video goes up, right, onto the YouTube ad goals. All right. So that's it, guys. So I'm gonna get out of here again. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope this conversation was insightful in terms of information. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Okay, it must have let me back in. All right. Anyway, I don't know what that was about, but I'm gonna log this thing off and get out of here. I guess it popped back on. So it wasn't necessarily YouTube, it was StreamYard. Right. I was having an issue with StreamYard and we're just cycling. So anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. Shim Hotel. See y'all on the next one. Again, really quick on the way out the door for anybody that might be still lingering around. Let's see what the future market look like. And we'll call it a day. Again, hope this video was insightful. Hope we got a lot of it. Like, share, subscribe, tune in. Go like my, new page over there at Rumble. Right. The backup for the backup, right? And again, if you choose to build your page, to use my referral link down in the description box. I'll have it tagged down there and in the comment section once the video goes up. Check me out on Rumble as well, right? So let me see here. Make sure we have it posted across all those sites as well. And I think I'll have it on we'll have it on the YouTube side as well once it comes up. All right. So I'm just doing this for the video aspect of it right now, so it'll show up. Inside of the video once it goes up and goes live, right? So let me post that right here over here on Facebook too. Sorry about that, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. All right, thank you everybody for tuning in. So yeah, all right, so that's it. So real quick, let me show this right here on the future market, and I'm out of here. All right, for it get a little bit more exciting, right? Exciting. Stay tuned to the next episode, right, of Censorship Z. All right, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just cutting up. All right, just cutting up. All right, so let's look at the future. Oh, there we go. Money is moving. They playing the bounce. But guess what? We've been seeing that happen for the past 3-4 days. It could easily turn around and come back down. Futures are just a small indication. All right, a small indication. Right, so right now the futures market is up, but yeah, it can easily come down. So just keep that in mind, guys. Right now we're playing the bounce, obviously, right? We're playing the bounce that came up for Friday because we were down near the bottom, obviously, the bottom of the linear regression band on the hourly chart. The daily shows a little different, but below the hourly, we're still below the 200-day moving average, which still makes it bearish. We're below the 20-day moving average, which still makes it bearish. And we're just pinging off the bottom of that trend band. If you had the Bollinger Bands up or whatever, you'll be able to see that, right? You'll be able to been able to have saw that. And this is the back course. I know everybody that left already that was watching because the video was, but I'm just having it there so when they come back and rewatch it, we'll have this back end piece, right? This little extra piece, right? This bonus reel, right? They call it, right? This bonus reel right here. See right there? Right here, really quick here. Bonus reel piece here. All right, let's get this up here. See right here on the hourly chart. See right there at the bottom of the integration band there, right here. See, pinging on the hourly. You pinged off of it. They saved it off this bottom ping right here. They saved it. See those two big old red candles right there, the last 2 hours of the market, right on the hourly chart. They see how it kind of round the bottom right here, going into the close here. Right, and the peak value of the selling obviously came off the back end of the squeeze momentum right there as well. For now, because it can still go back red tomorrow, but that's a small say. They might try to play it back towards 20-day moving average tomorrow, if nothing else, the minimum, which puts it at 455 on the S&P 500. If they push above that to get to that neutrality line of resistance up here, be 458. That would be top line resistance tomorrow. Keep your eye on that on the hourly chart. Of course, I mean, it's obvious that would be a level of resistance that they might be playing into or towards tomorrow, right? If they get a full bounce off this move, right? Right now it's just futures popping off the bat of it's basically retracing the big sellout that we got over the weekend. Friday, right? Going into the weekend, excuse me. So that's major resistance tomorrow to watch. Of course, 20-day moving average is right here on the hourly. That's obvious, right? 455. If they overtake that 458, then they might try to push it back up towards 20-day moving average, right? That's a big move they have to push tomorrow, which obviously puts it around 460, right? So that's just if for the fifth, but they might just play it back up like we've been seeing with the future market back up towards the major moving average or that resistance, and then you may have some more downtrend, right? So until they break some massive lines like that 20-day moving average on the hourly above that 460 and close above that, That still puts the market in still somewhat of a more egregious bearish signal. Up here, it puts it at a neutrality position, meaning it's still bearish, but it's in a neutral position where it can bounce, right? At least they have a little support coming off the lows. But everything below this here is basically lower high, right? Basically, that means it's what? It's bearish, right? So make sure I draw that again. We talked about it before plenty of times, so ain't nothing new, right? Lower high, right? Them lower highs, right? That's a lower high there. Here's one here, right? So y'all can see it. It's on the screen. It's no mistaking. When you see it, you know how to operate into it or around it, right? So lower high. There's another one there. And the most recent one, the fresh one here, was that big fake out one that got a lot of people trapped thinking the market going to rise again. And I went short there. This counter right here, I crushed it, right? I crushed it, right? That's another lower high there. And so right now you're trying to build another one here back toward 20 moving average, unless they can bring our way back to this neutrality line around about 458. Or that even line of resistance there, then neutrality will be the 460, the 200 moving average up here, right? That line up around that point right there, right? So until that happens, yeah, they just, blowing smoke, right? They just playing retracement, pinging like this here on the way back down, unless they can change the whole market trajectory and send it back up to the upside. All right. So you say, what does my shirt say? Oh, yeah, this my little shirt. Right. Let me spread it out a little bit. I got my microphone in the way, I guess. Let me put the microphone back this way. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, so it says, I'm strong because a strong woman raised me, right? Y'all know how it is about mama, boy, strong mamas. So shout out to all the ladies out there, the sisters, right? And all the fellas who acknowledge that, right? Hey, mom, right? Mom gave you them instructions, right? Them good instructions, right? So shout out to Mom Duke in that perspective, right? Because again, we are strong because strong women do raise us, right? If you really respect the value of the, that neutrality of energy, right? It can't just be straight testosterone and no femininity, right? We all should share a little bit of both of that. It's balance. All right, it's balance, right? So shout out to the sisters out there, to the ladies in general in that perspective, right? Shout out to that energy. All right, so that's it, guys. I'm out of here. So again, I got a little second chance on life to come back on. I guess string y'all acted right on the back end. They try to run everybody off, I guess. But I ain't want to be on that much longer anyway. So the future market's up. Keep your eye on that throughout the evening. We'll see if they're gonna do anything special. Again, I would say we have to be up at least 1%, at least close to 1% by by pre-market, in order for me to take this serious. Now, if they keep it up around about 0.50%, 0.40%, somewhere around there, 0.6%, give or take, that could easily sell off. Right? They'll have my attention. They can get the futures market up to around about 0.8% or 1% going into pre-market tomorrow at 4 a.m. If you see 0.8% or near 1%, then you say to yourself, okay, they might try to bounce it. Anything under that, 0.6, 0.5, that could easily sell off, right? We've been seeing it all week. So just be cautious of that. Plot your levels right, your support resistance. Don't get emotional. Stay within the confinement of what you can attain for. If you feel like it's too shaky, don't trade it. If it's not your setup, don't trade it. Trust me, don't do it. This is about, protection more so than it is just trying to be aggressive, right? So that's it, guys. See y'all in the next one. Enjoyed the whole conversation. And hey, I can give you the links to the setup to Sister Monica. Because, I told y'all when I was going to make that little kind of, little investment, get off the other little headset. And of course, like I said, the market been, doing pretty well for a brother. So, how it go. We take our, plug and play scenarios when we can, right? But in this case, it's just a use case, right? Because I want to be able to kind of come on and give people some good, good sound quality and things of that nature too. So, it's a worthy investment, that perspective. All right. So that's it, guys. Y'all have a great one. Peace, power, profit, Shimo, Telp. And I'll get that over to you, the whole setup. And if y'all got questions about any of this stuff too, don't hesitate to hit me up on my Facebook business page, or hit me up in the different portals that we all hang out in. Y'all know how to get in contact with. Hit me up. I'm approachable. Y'all know that, right? So we can help each other out. All right. So that's it, guys. Y'all enjoy it. Enjoyed you all. See y'all on the next one, guys. Shout out to everybody. Peace, power, and profit. And let's get it, right? You say you need to get ready for 2022. That's right. That's right. All right, let me post that right there. Right. So, hey, y'all see that car right there in that picture right there? See that right there come from investing and she was already making big moves before that, but see, that sister been making power moves. So shout out to Sister Monica Lamb, making power moves, still growing, right, and showing people how to be, more secure in business management as a whole, right. So shout out to her. All right, so that's it, guys. Y'all, I enjoy it. See y'all in the next one, everybody. Shout out to everybody. Peace, power, and profit. Peace.